Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as what if Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
For the coming night. Tsunade gazed hatefully at the scene of the village, guzzling down sake in her office at the Hokage Tower. This day of the year was always the worst for her. Just how many times did this village have to take away those she cared about till it was satisfied? Naruto, there on her desk stood the picture frame of the smiling blonde boy who had gotten so close to her in a span of a few days. After the loss of Dan and her little brother Nawaki, Tsunade thought it was impossible to care for anyone other than Shizen and her sensei and perverted teammate. But sure enough, the little blonde Gaki had wormed her way into her heart, becoming like a son to her. And now he was gone too. You would have turned 20 today? Sniff, Naruto. Tsunade choked, trying to keep the tears at bay. After that fateful day, all that the hunter teams had been able to find were his bloodied headband and his charred, severed left arm. She had refused to believe it, and had went to the site of the battle to prove them wrong. To this day, that sight still haunted her. The blood, oh God, the blood was everywhere. The water was drenched with it. She had thought she had gotten over her fear of blood ever since the fight with Orochimaru. But the sight, it was just too much. She didn't remember much after that, and woke up in one of the hospital beads to find Shizen standing by her bedside to tell her the unfortunate news. The DNA samples came back positive for Naruto. It was too much. She broke down and cried in her apprentice's arms, who shed her tears as well. Shizen had come to view the little blonde as a little brother. The council had denied the right to a grave for Naruto. Tsunade had been livid and threatened execution on the civilian council. Danzo crushed any hope of a memorial for her little blonde, stating that without a body to confirm the death, the most that they could do was list him as MIA. Fate was just too cruel. While there was still some bad blood between her and the civilian council, things had lessened much when Danzo, the ringleader, had died in his sleep. To this day, no one knew the cause, whether it was old age or something else. Tsunade was broken from her reverie when her office door cracked open to reveal an equally distraught redhead. Kushina. 2 years after his death, Kushina, the Naruto's mother everyone thought to have died, had returned to Konoha with a daughter 4 years Naruto's junior. They had been residing in Kiri, where they found that the girl's father had died in the bloodline wars. When Tsunade saw Kushina along with a girl look-alike of Kushina, she had been furious with her old friend. Kanagakur 5 years ago, same day. How dare you? Tsunade seethed at the women, after confirming that she wasn't delusional. How dare she walk in now, trying to be a part of the boy's life? Tsunade, look, I know you're upset, but dash. 15 years. 15 God. Damn. Fucking years. Where the hell were you all this time? Where were you when he needed you? She screamed. Tsunade, I know. How do you think I felt when I finally pieced myself back together after Minato's death? He never told me what he was going to do with Naruto. He just said he wanted to hold him. After that, I was unconscious, and the first thing I wake up to is that my husband is dead and that my son now carries my burden. How was I supposed to handle that? By staying by your son's side, damn it. I tried, but I was just so full of pain that I wanted to get away from it all. By the time I was slapped myself out of it, I was stuck in Kiri when the bloodline war started. But now I'm here, and I want to make up for lost time. Tsunade, please, where is my son? Well, you should have fucking thought of that before he died. Tsunade snapped. She was in no mood to try to ease Kushina into this. Tsunade, that was a horrible and cruel joke. Where's my son? A joke. A joke. Tell me, is it a fucking joke that the council saw fit to send a team of genin after a team of a class sound nin to retrieve a traitor? Is it a joke that that same traitor who killed him was his damn friend? Is it a joke that the only thing left of him was his headband and his severed arm? Damn it, Kushina. Tsunade cursed. She didn't care to watch her language in front of the little girl beside her mother, who started to tear up. And Mommy, Oni-chan Ai is dead? The girl asked fearfully. No, no. Tsunade, you're lying. You're lying. Tell me where my son is. Kushina screamed. No matter what Tsunade said, Kushina tried denying it. Tsunade was fed up with it and took them to Konoha Memorial Stone, where it listed those dead or missing. After seeing her son's name on that stone listed as Amae, she broke down crying, holding her grieving daughter. After that, they had taken up permanent residence in their former family home. It had taken several months, but her and Tsunade had resolved their differences. I thought I'd find you here, Tsunade said. Tsunade humphed. If Shizune sent you in to stop me drinking, then you can tell her dash. Tsunade shut up when Kushina revealed a high-quality vintage bottle of sake from behind her. I relieved Shizune a couple minutes ago and told her I'd watch after you. Unlike her, though, I know that sometimes sake is good for the soul. Kushina stated, plopping herself down on a seat and poured herself a cup as well as one for Tsunade. The two drank in comfortable silence for several minutes until Kushina broke the silence. 7 years, Tsunade nodded. Nothing else needed to be said. Where's Suki? Tsunade asked, wondering where Naruto's younger sister was if her mother was here. Ever since her brother's death, Suki devoted herself to becoming a shinobi to carry on Naruto's dream. She was one of the most dedicated and driven kunoichi in Konoha, and may Kami have mercy on the fool to badmouth her dead brother, for she won't show them any. Only 16, and she was soon to be promoted jonin, and was hailed as Konoha's newest genius. She's spending the day at Hinata's, was her mother's reply. Tsunade nodded in understanding. Hinata had come a long way since Naruto's death. After hearing of his death, she had taken on black robes of mourning customary to the Hyuga, and declared to the council that she would never take on a suitor. Hayashi, of course, had challenged her, stating that if she should lose, that she would be forced into wedlock with a suitable partner to continue the Hyuga line. Hinata astounded many that day with a show of unseen strength, wiping the floor with her father in front of the council. And as per agreement, Hinata would not be forced to take a suitor and became clan head and fulfilled her promise of removing the caged bird seal. The story had become quite popular amongst the younger Kunoichi as a tale of tragic, unfounded love. As the years progressed, Hinata's innate beauty became more pronounced, attracting a horde of hopeful suitors who hoped to capture the heart of Konoha's Lavender Maiden. Though each and every one of them were sent back with their tail between their legs by her protective cousin Niji, no one would dare mess with the AMBU captain, and those that did, well, let's just say it was not pleasant. After Suki had found out about Hinata's affection for her deceased brother, the two had bonded and often spent this day in Hinata's personal garden, the only place in Konoha where there was a memorial for their departed blonde. Such a shame. I hear she still won't let the Uchiha visit her garden. Kushina said. Tsunade chuckled. Hinata, while polite towards the last Uchiha and Sakura, still would not let them visit the memorial in her home. They would ask her every year, and still she would not allow them. Even Kakashi, who had taken the loss very hard himself. I think her exact words were, while Naruto-kun may have believed you to be his friends, I will not, nor ever trust you. Now get the hell off of my property. Tsunade chortled. She would have made one hell of an Uzumaki. Kushina sadly chuckled. Yadash. Tsunade's reply was cut short when Jiraiya burst through the window, scaring both women. Tsunade, Jiraiya yelled, his face greeted by her fist plowing him into a wall, where he comically slid off. Damn it, Jiraiya. Use the goddamn door. You want to give me a heart attack. You dash. Tsunade, call an emergency meeting with the clan heads in 10 minutes. Jiraiya cut her off as he got up, wiping the dust off him. He was serious. What is it about? I'll tell you at the meeting. I need to get some things ready for it. And with that, he was gone. Damn it, Jiraiya. Kushina got up and corked the bottle shut. Come on, it must be urgent. Tsunade sent several ANBU to notify the appropriate people before following her out of the door. Kanahagakure Hyuga Compound, Hinata's personal garden. Hinata sat there with Suki telling tales of her brother's antics during the academy days as they sat in the shade of the sakura tree next to the memorial stone. I remember the day before the academy exams. Naruto pulled his biggest prank. He said before he graduated, he wanted to do something big before he began his ninja debut. What did he do? I remember that Hokage Hiruzen was so mad. Naruto had painted the Hokage monument in broad daylight. The ANBU had chased him all day, but could never catch him. To this day, no one knows how he did it. Hinata chuckled. In no way. Suki was baffled. Was that even possible? Sure, Konohamaru and his friends had mentioned it, but they left that little detail out. Yup, Konohamaru tried to do it after Naruto, but they caught them before they even started. Both of them chuckled for a while before sitting in comfortable silence. Hinata had grew her hair long since Naruto had told her one day that he thought she would look beautiful with long hair. She was dressed in her traditional black kimono with an orange obi in tribute to her dead beloved. Suki was clad in a chunin vest, her Konoha headband tied around her left arm. She wore the traditional navy blue undershirt and pants and shinobi sandals. She let her red hair fall down free much like her mother, framing her blue eyes all the more for the passing admirer. Hinata, yes, Suki-chan. Do you think Oniai-chan is proud of me? Naruto would be proud of you no matter what you choose to do, as long as you never give up. The heartfelt moment was cut short as Niji arrived in ANBU gear. Hinata, pardon the intrusion. Tsunade has called an emergency meeting with the clan heads in 10 minutes. Hinata and Suki got up immediately to leave. Hinata bowed before the stone before leaving the clearing. Suki made way for home until Hinata called out to her. Will you not come with us, Suki-chan? But isn't this a clan head-only meeting? Yes, but you're one of the last of the Uzumaki clan. I think that will call for an exception. Come. And with that, the three headed out to the meeting. Konoha Core Council Room. There is a relative vacancy of seats as the civilian council was not present, though the numbers had gradually dwindled down after Danzo's death. Murmuring was in the air as everyone was at their seats. Once everyone had been accounted for, Tsunade turned to her fellow Sannin. Jiraiya, now will you finally tell us why we are here? Tsunade demanded. Hold on, Haim. God admit, Jiraiya, I told you not to dash. At that moment, Kakashi dashed into the room holding a tape. Sorry, Jiraiya-sama. It was hard to find. Hello, Hokage-sama. Jiraiya thanked him and took the tape. You may stay, Kakashi. This pertains to you too. This contains information from the land of spring that you may find very interesting. Well then, what are you waiting for? Play the damn tape. Ok, geesh. The room darkened as the projector started, only to reveal a movie trailer for the unannounced next sequel to the Princess Gale movies. Jiraiya, you called US in for a fucking movie. Tsunade, will you please shut up? Jiraiya asked with a serious expression that made her falter. He turned to Kakashi. Kakashi, pause the video. The screen froze to show a new character that was not present from the previous movies. He was clad mostly in black, though his upper body was exposed. He wore a mask similar to the Hunter Neen's and had long wild blonde hair that reached his waist, along with several braids amongst the blonde mane that ended attached to what resembled chakra blades. The left arm was made to be a black gauntlet, a movie prop most likely. Now, if you have seen any of the previous movies, you would know that this character has not been in any of the other movies and is a new addition, Dash. What are you, Dash? I'm getting there, Tsunade. Kakashi, stop at 3 minutes and 43 seconds of the video. The screen now showed the back view of the character as well as a close-up of the left shoulder. Now, if you notice here, and here, that the left arm is actually not a prop or CGI, but actually a prosthetic. Jiraiya pointed out with a laser pointer. Zoom out, please, Kakashi. The picture changed again to show the whole figure. Now notice that there are only 9 braids ending with blades. 9. Sound familiar? Jiraiya, we all know Koyuki held Naruto in high regard. This is an actor, though. He's not Dash. Tsunade, what sidearm was found at the site? Sasuke cringed at the reminder of the battle. He hated himself for what he did to his friend. The left arm, Tsunade bitterly replied. Was that ever made public knowledge? Everyone's eyes widened. Hinata held back tears, threatening to fall. The movie progressed to show the character intercept an enemy's punch and throw them over their shoulder. There! That move was from one of the Toad-style taijutsu katas that I taught Naruto. The movie then fast-forwarded to a close-up of the character's mask. Kakashi zoomed in and enhanced the image. As they could hear the furious typing of the copycat Nin, everyone awaited with bated breath. Could be? Is my son still alive? And Naruto-kun, is it you? Oni-chan? Dobe, are you still alive? They were awarded with their patience when a screen zoomed in on the narrow eye slits and revealed a pair of cerulean blue eyes. Naruto is alive, and he's in the land of spring. Konohagakure Council Room. Konohamaru, amongst many others, were overjoyed at the news. His older brother, his boss, was still alive. Boss, I can't believe it. You're still alive. Hinata and Suki were crying while hugging each other, and were soon bear-hugged by a bawling Kushina who was hopping around the whole council room. My son, he's alive. The happiness and joy was infectious in the room. Even Hayashi chuckled. Tsunade allowed this to proceed, and after brushing away her own tears away, called for attention. All right, settle down. Boss is back. Oh, and I-chan. No, Devon. So, God admit, whoever doesn't shut up is gonna have catch Torah missions for a year. Everyone stopped on a dime and sat in their seats back straight. Jiraiya chuckled at their antics until he was silenced with a glare from Tsunade. Now, while it is good news that Naruto is alive, the question remains on how to retrieve him. It was common knowledge that the famous daimyo from the Land of Spring did not have a very high opinion of Konoha after finding out that the hero of her country had been treated with indifference and had been forced to grow up in relative solitude over something he had no control over. Granted that they weren't enemies, they weren't exactly allies anymore with Naruto gone. It is most likely that the daimyo is aware that Naruto is residing in her country. The fact that she has not notified us that Naruto was alive means that she did not want him to be found, which means we can't just ask them to hand him over without some hostilities. Tsunade thought out loud. Regardless, though, his country and loyalty lies with Konoha. We must take action quickly before the populace finds out, and we become forced to label him a missing Nin. Hayashi stated. Shikamaru, having taken over his lazy dad's position 2 years prior, nodded in agreement. As troublesome as the situation is, it will become even more so if we don't get him back sooner. Hokage-sama, I suggest making this an infiltrate and capture mission of the highest priority, most likely S rank, as the target is not only a close friend of ours, but also the last Namikaze and Jinchuriki of the QB. Shikamaru offered. Tsunade nodded in agreement. I agree. Any other action will result in a political catastrophe, possibly resulting in an end of trade agreements with the Land of Spring. Any shinobi or kunoichi you find best recommended for the task, send them to my office before midnight and be prepared for a week's travel. Note that I have final say in who goes. Got that? The group nodded, and with that Tsunade left the room. Konohagakure Hokage's office, 10 p.m. It wasn't even close to midnight, and there was already a line outside of Tsunade's office. It had barely been an hour after the meeting had ended, and the word had spread fast between amongst the shinobi. Tsunade sighed and rubbed her temples in irritation. All of you can come in now. They all poured in and somehow managed to fit in. The group consisted of everyone that had been tied to Naruto. Suki, Hinata, that was an obvious one. Kushina, Niji Kurenai, Asuma, Ligai, Kakashi, Kushina, Yakumo, Tintin, Ino, Choji Shikamaru, Irika Kono, Moegi Don, Shino, Kiba, Sasuke, and Sakura. And those are just a few she could name. You all do realize that the mission is an infiltrate and capture, right? I can't assign more than 8, 10 at the most, and even that is pushing it. Almost as soon as she said that, the group began to voice their reasons as to why they should be included in the mission. Somehow, throughout all the chaos, the most horrible thing was about to be done. "Oh, Lee, Guy Sensei. Lee, Guy Sensei. Lee, ha! So help me. If you two hug in here, I will assign you catch Tora missions for the rest of your career," Tsunade bellowed, saving the group from the horrible, unbreakable guy, Lee Combo Jinjutsu. Now, as to get back to the point, though I have to say, Uchiha, you're the least qualified to go after Naruto, seeing as how your actions have caused this. Tsunade sent a stern glare at Sasuke. Look, I know. I still beat myself up about what I had done. I was so consumed with the idea of revenge that I didn't care who I had to hurt to get it. I want to make amends to all the things I've done wrong. I want to know. I need to bring Naruto home. Tsunade gave him no answer, instead moving on to Irika. And you, Irika? Are you sure you should leave your wife halfway through her pregnancy on a dangerous mission? What would Anko say? Needless to say, Irika and Anko getting together in a relationship, much less getting married, no one had seen that coming. It had been good for both of them, though, since Irika had taken the boy's death extremely hard. For the first 3 years, he arrived late to all his lectures, and even then they were half-assed. He didn't show any of the passion he had before for his job, and was rarely of any help. Only when Anko found him trying to get himself plastered on the 4th anniversary of Naruto's death did she slap some sense into him and told him he wasn't the only one to miss the blonde Gaki, and to ask himself if Naruto really would want him to throw away his life because of him. With that, Irika had snapped out of his funk and gained back some of that previous spirit. Somewhere along the way, him and Anko had started seeing each other when out of the blue Irika asked her to marry him. Well, given that Anko thought it was Kurinai teasing her with a Jinjutsu, once she found out it was not so, she had glomped the poor man saying yes, over and over. Anyways, back to the present. Please, Tsunade-sama, he's been doting over me so much these past months. I want him to leave for a bit. Anko retorted, revealing herself in the crowd. While this may have seemed insensitive, once you translated it from Anko to English, it went like this. Honey, it's okay, you can go. You need to do this for yourself. Be safe, or something like that. Ibiki is still working on the translator. Tsunade humphed and looked towards the Kakashi. And you? I need to do this as well. I was his sensei, and I never really did as much as I should have for him. This is my atonement as well. Don't you dare think of keeping me off this mission, Hokage-sama. I've spent 7 years thinking Naruto-kun was dead. I will not stand by idle while Naruto-kun is out there alive. Hinata fiercely declared as soon as Tsunade so much as glanced in her direction. Tsunade sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose in frustration. Hokage-sama, if I may be so bold to suggest, the lazy Shikamaru ventured, drawing everyone's attention at the lazy Nara's uncharacteristic behavior. Go on. While I did suggest the mission does not necessarily mean that the mission parameters be solely focused on stealth. Knowing the troublesome blonde, things will blow way out of proportion. A stealth team simply won't work. How can you be so sure, Shika? A good stealth team could knock him out unconscious and bring him back. Choji asked his friend. That won't work. Being a Jinchuriki, Naruto can shrug off most sedatives and regain consciousness relatively fast. As for the silent dispatch, have any of you ever wondered how Naruto was able to evade capture from the ANBU when he was in a bright orange jumpsuit? He'll know we're on his tail, figuratively speaking, and retreat in a hiding where we may never find him again for several years. No, the team needs to be a combat-oriented one that can bypass the land of Spring's border control and come into direct combat to draw Naruto out. Anything else short of reverse summoning him, then re-summoning him here, just won't work. The team members should also have some sort of emotional attachment or connection to the troublesome blonde. He will be more wary attacking old friends. Shikamaru replied. After that was said and done, everyone looked towards Tsunade for her final say. Asterisk sigh asterisk. Thank you for summing the situation up, Shikamaru. Okay, listen up. The Naruto retrieval team will consist of the following members: Kakashi, Guy, Hinata, Kiba, Choji, Sakura, Sasuke, Kurinai, Shikamaru, Iruka, and Ino. Meet up at the Western Gate in 10 minutes. Oh, and one last thing. You better not be seasick. With that, the shinobi present saluted and departed. All save for two. Kushina was the first to approach Tsunade. "Tsunade, why the hell didn't you send me on the mission to get my son?" She yelled as she slammed her hands on the desk. Subtlety was never her strong point. Tsunade sighed and ran her hand over her face. "Damn it, Kushina. I know you and Suki want to drop everything and go to your son. Hell, the only thing keeping me from running after him and dragging him back here is my duty as Hokage. But the fact is that Naruto has not come back to his home once in 7 years. I should know. I've had to read the daily reports from Border Patrol. Also, the fact that Jiraiya's Toad summons lied about Naruto's death speaks for itself, that he doesn't want to come home for whatever reasons. Right now, seeing his mother he didn't even know he had will do more harm than good." Tsunade explained. "Don't worry, the moment the blonde knucklehead steps foot inside Konoha, I'll let you know." Fine. Kushina relented and led her daughter towards their home. Fire Country Border, Naruto Retrieval Team, 11:20 p.m. The group had been traveling in relative silence for a little more than an hour before Kiba addressed something Shikamaru had stated earlier. "Kakashi-san." "Yes, Kiba." "Why doesn't Jiraiya just use the reverse summon technique on Naruto? I mean, he is the Toad Sage, after all." Everyone nodded their heads at this, as all of them, save the Nara, had been mulling this over in their heads. Kakashi sighed before answering the brash Inuzuka's question. "Normally, yes, that would be the case. A summoning contract allows the current sage that kind of pull over lesser summoners. The only time they cannot do this is when the summoner is either removed, which means they've signed a different summoning contract, or if they're dead. Jiraiya had come in contact with this information a week back, and checked with the Toad Elders to make sure before he brought it up with Tsunade. The Elders had told Jiraiya that Naruto's status read deceased on the scroll, but they were acting shifty, as if they had something to hide. But wouldn't they have to answer Jiraiya truthfully? See, that's the thing with summons. They're not obligated to help you out. Some would even leave you out to dry if they wanted to. Others, like Man to the Snake Summon, set requirements that you must complete before they would even think of helping you. So technically, the Toad Elders could tell Jiraiya to stick it up his ass, so to speak, and deny an answer, as they are obviously doing now, which makes this mission all the more difficult since Naruto is making it clear he doesn't want to be found, which makes our job harder. A unsettling silence descended over the group at Kakashi's declaration. And while this is an S-class secret, it does pertain to the mission and you are entitled. Recently, one of Jiraiya's spies caught word of an organization calling themselves the Akatsuki and are comprised solely of S-class missing needs. Their objective seems to be to gather all the Jinchuriki, though for what purpose we don't know. And the fact that we now know where Naruto is, you can be damn sure they know too, which makes this mission all the more harder. We'll get him back, Hinata, and whenever she's on a mission, Hinata is in her Shippuden outfit, who had been silent ever since their departure, was the first to break the silence. "We will bring him back. Konoha, it's his home, and it still is. We're his family, his precious ones. So help me if I have to drag him back to Konoha kicking and screaming the whole way, I will. And if the Akatsuki try to take him away, I will make sure I deal with them personally," she fiercely declared. Everyone felt their resolve strengthen with the Hyuga Eris's words. A woman in love is a scary thing, Kakashi mused. 3 days later, somewhere in the land of spring. On a stage in an underground ruin, its surfaces fraught with inscriptions and ancient hieroglyphics, stood a man clad in formal robes holding aloft a magnificent gauntlet, sending off rays of power in nondescript directions. The man cackled at the group before him. "Behold, Princess, the gauntlet of Sazdani. With its power, The third column shall create a new order. Our order, the man sneered, too long has humanity been devoid of judgment, but for no longer. We shall act as the hand of God and create a new order. You would do so at the price of thousands of innocents. Have you gone mad? Princess Gale retorted. They should feel honored to be used in the name of peace. At this, one of the princess's bodyguards stepped forward, his face masked and his blonde mane swaying wildly in the air from the force of the malevolent vortex of power. He pointed his black gauntlet at the madman. It isn't peace. It's a dictatorship, with you at the top. Oh, how you wound me, brother, the man said in mock hurt. More men in similar garb came out of the shadows. Tell me, brother, why do you fight against your brothers and sisters, for those who hate you for your gift? These allies are using you. Nothing more, nothing less. As soon as you've outlived your usefulness, they'll stab you in the back. Don't listen to him, the guard Bohoja yelled. The man continued. Even now, brother, our offer still stands. Come back to the waiting arms of your family, where you belong. You can take your offer and shove it up your ass for all I care. The masked guard retorted back heatedly. The man sadly shook his hand. It is a pity, brother, but not even for family will the way to the new order be stopped. Whatever he had planned to say next was never heard as he blocked a spell from the princess. We didn't come here to trade words. We came here to stop you. And that's just what we'll do. At this, all the group sprung into action, the guards taking care of the henchmen, while Princess Gale made straight for their leader. Each and every blow from the princess was swatted away insignificantly by the man. How? The man cackled. Don't you get it? With Sazdain, I am God. At this, he sent a vicious strike at the princess, knocking away her staff. Enough of these childish games. It is time to end this. Dark energies formed on his right hand. In a flash of movement, he jabbed his hand forward, set out to stab the princess in the heart. Princess! But as she closed her eyes, Gale could hear the sickening squelch of pierced flesh, but noted the absence of pain. When she dared to open her eyes, she saw the man's hand, slick with blood, inches away from her heart, protruding from the body of her masked ally. While are you? She screamed in horror. Yoru merely chuckled, coughing up blood in the process. Are you okay, princess? Yoru called, looking over his shoulder. Why did you? You still define me, brother. To think, I would have given you a painless end. Now, you can suffer with the rest of them. The robed man twisted his arm violently, causing Yoru to cry out in pain. Stop it, Princess Gale cried. The man cackled and drew his arm out of Yoru, or at least attempted. When he looked to see what had stooped him, he saw Yoru's right hand clamped around his arm like a vice. No matter how much he struggled, he couldn't break free. Let go of me, Yoru merely chuckled. Cough, I still see them. In my dreams, they come to me. Every man, woman, and child I ever killed. Every sin comes back to haunt me. I've done so many things wrong, but at least in the end, I gotta do one thing right. Yoru rose his left arm, his black gauntlet gleaming in the light. No, let go of me. The man tried frantically to free his arm. Gladly, Yoru sneered, rending the man's right arm from his body with his clawed hand. Gah! The man clutched his heavily bleeding side in a futile attempt to stop the flow of blood. Yoru tore the severed arm from his torso and flung it away, only to promptly collapse. Princess Gale took this opportunity to finish the fight. It's over, and with a blast of power from her recovered staff, the man faded to ashes. The sounds of battle died away. Each of the members of the order dispatched. Her loyal companions made way to the huddled form of their princess who cradled the head of their dying comrade in her lap. Tears flowed unheeded from her eyes as she gazed into her fallen ally's cerulean blue eyes, his mask discarded. Why? Hick, why did you do that? She sobbed. Yoru smiled sadly at her. Asterisk, I did it, because you were the first person, asterisk, to ever be my friend, Yoru weakly replied, prompting Gale to cry even harder. He weakly clasped his necklace and handed it to Gale. Her eyes widened. Here, I want you to have this. Boo butt, it's the only memory you have of your previous life. Please, I want you to have it. Think of it as a gift. With that said, he pushed it into her hands. Asterisk cough, asterisk I wonder if I'll ever see you again, but I doubt it since I'm going to hell, but I do hope you find happiness, Princess Gale. Yuru, asterisk hick, asterisk. I'll never forget you. Gale sobbed. Karis. I just remembered. Asterisk cough, asterisk my real name. It's Karis. It's a beautiful name. My time's up, cough. Goodbye, Princess Gale. She could do no more than watch as the light left his eyes and his breathing stilled. Gently, she closed each eye, kissing them shut, before whispering goodbye. Karis. And then cut. The lights flooded on the scene as the stage crew filed in and the actors got up. The director was literally in tears as he approached his 2 stars. That was beautiful, he shouted, hugging Naruto and Princess Koyuki. The 2 actors saw many of the crew members in similar states, bawling their eyes out, but nonetheless continuing to do their jobs. He let them go and clapped a hand on Naruto's shoulder. My boy, you have a gift. I have another movie coming up in a year. I would love to have you star in it. Sorry, Mr. Xiangxiangli. This was just a favor for Princess Koyuki. Besides, I don't think I'm really cut out for acting. The blonde chuckled, rubbing the back of his head, embarrassed with all the praise. The director merely chuckled. Nonsense, my boy. You are much too modest. Such a shame, though. You have talent that other actors would kill for. In case you ever change your mind, though, here's my card. We'll always have a job open for you. The director replied, shoving his business card into Naruto's hands. Thanks. I'll be sure to keep you in mind if I ever want to get back into showbiz. So is that the last take? You bet, my boy. As of now, all the filming is over. Now all we have to do is ship the film to the editors. Now this calls for a celebration. How about it, my boy? There'll be women, drinks, music, and dancing, the director cried. Many of the other staff perked up at his words. Sorry, Mr. Xiangxiangli, but I'll have to pass. Naruto politely declined. I promised to spend the rest of the day with my daughter after I was done at the studio. The director shook his head. It's admirable for one so young to be so dedicated to his daughter, and a single parent no less. But my boy, you have to live a little. Take a night out in the town, meet some women, get Koyuki stopped in mid-tirade by bopping him on the head. I think that's enough, Director-san. Your idea of living is getting plastered and going to host his clubs. I think it's admirable that Naruto spends so much time with his daughter, Koyuki declared, allowing Naruto enough time to sneak off to his trailer to change back into his clothes. He walked by the occasional employee or actor, nodding or giving a wave of greeting before entering the nondescript trailer and closing the door behind him. Using a rag, he wiped away the fake blood and makeup, revealing 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek. Over the years, he grew up to look even more like his father, his baby fat long since gone. He removed the fake prop blades from their braids, replacing them with their chakra blade counterparts. After that was done, he peeled away the decorative covering of his chakra armor prosthetic, its design far more intricate and improved compared to the first one he was given, compliments of Princess Koyuki. After putting on his black slacks, he donned his button-up collared white shirt, which he left untucked. Wouldn't want to look like a prick now, would he? Just as he was putting on his black trench coat in preparation for the cold air, Princess Koyuki entered his room. Hey there. Hey, Naruto replied, not pausing from wrapping the white scarf around his lower face, not only to cover his whisker marks, but also to ward off the chilly air outside. You're going to leave now, aren't you? Naruto sighed inwardly. He knew this was coming. Yes. At the end of the week, me and Hikari will head out for Suna for a brief respite. I can't thank you enough for giving me this job and letting us live normal lives for a little bit. Well, I should get going. Hikari is expecting me soon. Wouldn't want to make her wait. Naruto replied, hoping that the conversation would end, and made his way towards the door. Though before he could open it, Koyuki grasped his shoulder. Naruto, you can stay here. I could adopt you. give you amnesty from Fire Country. You can settle down and give Hikari the life you always wanted her to have. Stay. Naruto sighed. Believe me, Koyuki-chan, I would. I would love to settle down and give Hikari a chance at a normal life I never had. But as much as I want to, I can't pile my troubles on my friends. Sure, you can adopt us, declare political amnesty, but that would effectively end any ties with Fire Country. It might even escalate to war if they want their Jinchuriki back that badly. Spring Country is still rebuilding itself. I can't deny your country a possible future ally, just for my selfish reasons. And with that, Naruto left the trailer, signifying an end to the conversation. Don't you think you have a right to be selfish about this? After all the things you've done for others, don't you think you're entitled to be selfish about this? Koyuki asked him from the doorway. Naruto merely smiled sadly at her, and while his face may have been covered, his eyes conveyed exactly what couldn't be said. They showed someone who had seen too much, who had lost too much. There's nothing left to be selfish for. Dewa Addi Dai. As soon as Naruto stepped foot in the grounds of the elementary school, a little blonde, blue-eyed girl tackled him, hanging on to him like a monkey. Her hair was tied up in twin pigtails, though she lacked her dad's whiskers, something she was sorely jealous of. She wore an orange hoodie, much like her dad when he was a genin, jeans, and brown-eyed boots. She had a little red backpack, and while a little worn around the edges, she refused a replacement. Oof! Naruto staggered under the force his little girl collided with him. He chuckled at the little girl's antics, ruffling her hair with his hand. Hey there, did Daddy's little girl behave herself? Hikari nodded her head furiously with such vigor that some bystanders thought she was going to break her neck. Yup, so Daddy, where are we going to go today? Ooh, I know. We can go to the fair. Please, see. Can we? Hikari shouted, shaking her dad furiously. Naruto laughed at her antics. She reminded him so much of himself before everything happened. Sure thing. After all, you did keep up your part of the bargain. Yeah. Hikari jumped off her dad and danced around him in circles from the excitement. Just as he was about to calm her down so that they could leave, he saw her teacher running up to them out of breath. Asterisk huff, asterisk Hikari. Don't run off like that. You could get lost. Then how will your dad find? Tsubaki faltered as she noticed just who Hikari was with and blushed considerably. Mr. Uzumaki, I didn't notice you there. I'm sorry, that Hikari ran off under my watch. It's okay. I've been trying to teach her not to do that anymore. Hikari, what did I tell you about worrying little Ms. Tsubaki? He said in a mock reprimanding tone. Hikari had the good nature to look embarrassed and looked down and trailed circles in the ground with her left foot. You said not to, and to listen to what Ms. Tsubaki says. Hikari said meekly. Naruto, I smiled. Good, now be sure to do that. Thank you for watching after my daughter, Tsubaki-chan. Now, if you'll excuse us, I promise my little girl to take her wherever she wants today. Tsubaki blushed even more when he referred to her as Chan. And not at all. Have a wonderful day, Mr. Uzumaki. Tsubaki said as she bowed. Please just call me Naruto. Have a wonderful day, Tsubaki-chan. And with that, the two blondes departed. Tsubaki stood there and watched them leave, to be joined by a fellow teacher's aide. So sad to be a widower at such a young age, especially for a handsome man like him. Sigh. Asterisk, yeah. Both of them clammed up, though, from a wave of killing intent that washed over them, only to disappear suddenly. In the shadows. Hinata, we are not to give away our position. What were you thinking? Naruto could have sensed us. Kakashi reprimanded the Hyuga. Hyuga blushed in shame. Gomen, Kakashi-san, I just didn't know what came over me. Don't worry, Hinata-chan. After we tie him up, you can have your way with him, though I'm going to have to ask if I can have him second. Ino teased. Hinata blushed a dark crimson. Nanny. Ino, enough. Kiba, did Naruto notice? Kurenai ordered. The Inuzuka shook his head. Nope, So far as I can tell, he hasn't noticed us. Kakashi nodded. Good, let's keep it that way. Hi. Who would have thought that Naruto had a kid? Kiba said after a while. What? You're mad that you're still a virgin dog boy? Ino teased. How did you know? Fuck. Oh, this is gold. Ino chuckled mischievously. Kakashi whacked them over the heads. Focus. Hi, Gomen Kakashi-san. They replied sheepishly. Kurenai looked over to Guy. I've never seen Kakashi so serious. Yash, my rival's flames of youth have returned. These past few years, he's been most unyouthful with his moping about. Back with Naruto. Naruto felt a shiver go down his spine as if he had been forced to listen to one of Guy and Lee's speeches of flames of youth. Could it be? Nah, must be imagining it. The fairgrounds were bustling with activity. Acrobats performed stunts, magicians wowing the crowd with tricks, and stands offering prizes for a lucky winner. Hikari was having a blast, running from stall to stall, trying different games and food, and dragging Naruto on all the rides she wanted to try. The sun had begun to set, and Naruto planned on taking Hikari home soon before it got dark, despite the fact that many people were still at the festival having fun. Come on, Hikari, time to go home. Oh, boo butt daddy. Please, just 10 more minutes. Pretty pues. Hikari then activated the dreaded puppy dog, eyes no just do. For the next 5 minutes, Naruto and Hikari held a staring contest until Naruto broke the silence. No, Hikari slumped in defeat. AWWWWWWW. As they made their way to leave, they bumped into two figures. Leaving so soon? But the fun's just beginning. The larger man stated. They were both clad in black cloaks with red clouds on them. Do I know you? Naruto asked. You have something we want, Naruto Uzumaki, the nine-tailed fox. The shorter one with fair skin and black eyes stated. Naruto made sure to school his face into a look of confusion while internally his mind was in turmoil. Shit, how do they owe crap? There's too many people around. What? I'm sorry, sir, but you must be mistaken. Wasn't the nine-tailed fox killed by the yellow flash 20 years ago? At least, as far as I know. If you will excuse us, sirs, it's getting late and we are retiring for the night. And with that, Naruto lead his daughter away in the opposite direction from a man. Instinct and countless years of battle experience saved him in the next few moments from a blow that would have decapitated him. Using his left arm to block the swing from the mighty blade, Naruto barely avoided death. Sad to say, not the same could be said for his sleeve, which was torn to shreds. The force of the blow cracked the ground beneath their feet, a metallic clang reverberating in the air. When Naruto saw the civilians unaffected by this, did he realize his predicament. Fuck, they put a barrier with a multi-layered Jinjutsu on the area. Hikari clung to her father, scared. You cannot escape, Jinchuriki, the man from before stated, solidifying Naruto's theory. At the time, only one thought passed through Naruto's head. And I just bought these clothes today, too, damn it. The Naruto retrieval team had been maintaining surveillance on their target for the past few hours. After finding the studio that he worked at, they had to bid their time to wait for him to leave, finding out that Princess Cookie had assigned several local nin for security. They had shadowed the family to the local fair, taking a position up on a hill overlooking the whole scene. While they could blend in with the crowd and keep a close watch on them, Kakashi didn't want to risk it. He had done so many things wrong when he was Naruto's sensei. He neglected him and failed to look after him. He would not mess this up. He would bring him home if it was the last thing he did. For now, they would wait and confront Naruto when the time was right. No sooner, no later. It was hard to resist the urge to run after the blonde after believing him to be dead all these years. He could see several other members of the team visibly having trouble remaining put while their long-lost friend was in front of them. Most notably Sakura, Sasuke, and Hinata. He would not worry though, for like him, no one on the team wanted to do anything to mess up the mission. Currently their favorite blonde was at a shooting gallery winning his daughter a stuffed toad. Of all the things Kakashi thought Naruto would be in the next decade after being assigned him, parent never came to mind, let alone a single parent. He wondered how Hinata was taking it, since her love for the blonde had become somewhat of a legend and fairy tale in the village. A heiress to a prominent clan falling in love with the village pariah, only to have her beloved die. It certainly fit the role of fairy tale. Wait, what was that? Kakashi directed his gaze back at Naruto after catching something in his peripheral vision when he had let his mind wander. Nothing was out of the ordinary, just Naruto winning his daughter a stuffed toy. Wait, the same one? Kakashi directed his gaze towards the daughter, who set aside the toad only for it to disappear once a villager passed by. It was then that Kakashi noticed it. The whole fair was in a loop. It was set to repeat at intervals where it would hardly be noticeable. Kakashi would have applauded the caster if not for what the presence of such a Jinjutsu implied. Shit. Team, this is Kakashi. Code Red. I repeat, Code Red. Someone's made their move on Naruto. Instantly the net was abuzz with panicked voices. What? Where? But Naruto's still there. Kurinai, focus on the daughter. Notice anything? I don't see why. Oh shit, we've been duped. It's a Jinjutsu. She replied angrily. How could she, the Jinjutsu mistress of Konoha, be duped? It was inexcusable and could prove fatal for Naruto. Several murmurs of Kai later, and the squad had still been unable to remove the Jinjutsu. Got any ideas, Kurinai? Kakashi asked. He waited, each second seeming like an hour. Every moment counted in these situations. 1 second could mean the difference between life and death. Kakashi refused to let Naruto die, so close to bringing him back home. It's well crafted. They probably have a partner nearby that is continuously layering its structure in order to ensure the Jinjutsu does not dispel, or they have set custom seals in a perimeter to induce a similar effect. While we could just charge in, we would be at the attacker's mercy. Kakashi cursed under his breath. Kiba, can you detect anyone in the surrounding vicinity? I can try, but with so many people, Akamaru and I are going to have a hard time finding the partner in all the background sense. Kiba replied. Kakashi-san, I think I found something. What is it, Hinata? I found the seals. It looks like they've also put barrier tags as well. There's 4 in total in a roughly square shape. The closest one is half a mile northwest of us. About another mile up is the second one. Half a mile northeast is the third, and the fourth is a mile southeast. Thanks, Hinata, Kiba, Sasuke, Guy, and Irika. I want those seals taken down now. We'll be in position to offer assistance if needed. Be careful. They might be rigged with traps or failsafes. Hi. Please, Naruto, be safe. Hinata silently pleaded to herself. Inside the barrier. So, I'm guessing Oh, he's not going to cut it, is it? Naruto deadpanned. The man wielding the sword chuckled. So, we got one with a sense of humor, eh? Well, at least we're not the ones tasked with getting the lunatic One-Tail's partner. Naruto's eyes narrowed at the mention of his friend Gaara. What did you guys do to Uncle Gaara? Hikari asked fearfully. The man chuckled. Oh, don't worry your little head over it. Your daddy will be joining him soon. You bastard. Gafebunsin no Jutsu. A clone of Naruto poofed into existence. Naruto handed Hikari to the clone. Take her to the safe house. The clone nodded. Hikari grabbed desperately towards her father. Daddy, no. She sobbed. Naruto smiled at her. Don't worry. Daddy's gonna beat these guys. I'll be back before you know it. And with that, the shadow clone ran off. The other man, who had yet to make a move, dashed forward, kunai in hand, towards the clone, disrupting it with a kunai to the back of the head. With the momentum from the clone, Hikari was sent tumbling in the dirt. The man placed his foot on the girl's back, forcing her down. Did you think we would let any witnesses live? Your exile has made you dash. A chakra armored fist slamming into his face sent him flying through several stands. You even fucking touch my daughter, and I'll send you straight to hell. Naruto roared. The sword-wielding man whistled. Whoa, 12 stance. Packs quite the punch, Hitachi. Said man removed himself from the wreckage, his veiled casa laying forgotten, revealing a fair-skinned man with the telltale black eyes of an Uchiha. He rubbed his jaw, which was already beginning to bruise. That was close. Had his fist done more than graze me, my head would have been lobbed off. Itachi pondered. Kisame, you're more suited for his type. You deal with him. Said man laughed and threw away his casa, revealing him to have a shark-like nature with blue skin and marks like gills on his face. Finally, I've been itching for a good fight. Just make sure you don't cause too much collateral damage. No promises. HN, very well. Kisame turned to his opponent to only see the little girl gone. Hey, where'd the brat go? Naruto chuckled. Safe. That's all you need to know. Now surrender and die. Don't you mean surrender or die? Nope. I like you, kid. Kisame chuckled. Can't say the same for you, shark-ass face. That's IT. A huge explosion from within the barrier sent tremors throughout the valley, sending some of the team to stumble. Shit, guys, what's the status on those seals? Kakashi asked into his communicator. ETA, 30 seconds, guy responded. Shit, come on, hang in there, Naruto. Naruto was sent back from the ferocious blow from Samahata, his feet making rivets in the dirt as he was blown back. His chakra armor arm had a burn mark from the point of impact. Damn, the blow was like one of the old hag's punches. He could make out the form of the enraged Kisame running towards him, sword waved angrily in the air. What was that bitch? Kisame roared. Must be sensitive about his skin color. OHSHIT. Naruto was forced to dodge as Kisame jumped in the air, sword raised over his head to bring down in a crushing axe-like motion. The point of impact made a giant fissure. Damn it, stay still, he roared, dashing after Naruto with a tremendous burst of speed. While this was going on, Itachi was pondering where the little girl Naruto was with had gone. The barrier's still active and shown no signs of breaching. And I don't sense her presence in here. Where did she? Itachi was cut short from his musings as he was forced to sidestep a chunk of falling debris coming his way. Shit. Sorry, Itachi. Itachi sighed at his partner's destructive tendencies. Currently, their target had yet to strike back, infuriating Kisame even further. That would be changed soon, though once Kisame would up the ante, which should be in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Suiton Baku Sui Shoha. Kisame issued a giant stream of water from his mouth, which erupted into a large tidal wave, with Kisame riding in the forefront, grinning eagerly at the thought of bloodshed. Naruto jumped, though much to his surprise the waves followed him, allowing Kisame to slash his chest. Naruto was barely able to backstep to avoid being cut in half, but the wound still stung like a bitch. Yet, accompanying the pain was an odd loss of chakra. With the barrier in place, the whole fair had flooded, now resembling a lake more than a valley. That thing drains chakra, doesn't it? Naruto said in realization. Kisame chuckled. Yup, you're the first to realize that after the first hit. Usually most only piece it together before Samahata here rips them to shreds. Kisame replied, mirth in his eyes as he recalled those battles. Well, that's annoying, Naruto retorted, pulling out a tanto from inside his trench coat, its handle made of a dark oak, its blade straight and no longer than his forearm. He held it in his right hand in a reverse grip and got into a defensive stance. Huh, you think it's going to do you much good against Samahata? Kisame chuckled. Naruto merely smirked. Kisame shrugged. Oh well, it's your funeral, I guess. And with both figures dashed forward, eager to get in the first strike. Okay, team. The seals have to be removed at the same time. On 3. 1, 2, 3. The seals came off easily, almost too easily in Kakashi's opinion. But sure enough, the barrier dispelled, unleashing a torrent of water that soon filled the valley and would have drowned the team had they not responded so quickly. The Jinjutsu dispelled, revealing Naruto engaged in a fierce Kinjutsu match with a man wielding a giant bandage sword. Before they could intervene, though, four figures came up to intercept them. "Ototo, my you've grown. I'm sorry, but I cannot let you nor your allies interfere in this fight," the man said as he came up alongside the clones of Kisame. Itachi. Kisame was pissed. How the hell was this brat blocking all his hits like noting? Samehada should have snapped that little Tonto in half. It was infuriating. The Jinchuriki didn't even use the weapon to strike, instead opting to use his left arm and chakra blades to counterattack, which, might he add, were very annoying. His opponent never settled into a stationary stance and was constantly pivoting and flowing, making the chakra blades in his hair whirl around like serpents before slashing him at an unexpected angle. When he brought down Samehada in an overhead strike, just to be countered by the short sword, did he get a close-up view of it? The Tanto had no edge. While it seemed to be of normal design, it was blunted and had strange inscriptions carved into it. "Wait a second. You ass. What the hell did you put on that sword?" Kisame yelled. Naruto chuckled. "Finally pieced it together, huh? As you know, it's a defensive weapon. Null here matches any chakra, momentum, and force applied to it and sends it back, nullifying any Kinjutsu-based attacks. Right now, it's just a battle of skills." Kisame smirked. "Boy, you've been the most interesting battle I've had yet. Shame I have to capture you," he replied, swinging low over Naruto's legs, only to have him flip over it, making one of his chakra blades nick him on the cheek. "We'll see about that," Naruto snidely replied. Kisame frowned. Those chakra blades were annoying. He couldn't predict their erratic movements and would pose a problem later on. Sure, all they had done so far were little flesh wounds. But what if they were intentional to lull him in a sense of false security before giving him a fatal wound? Either way, it would be annoying and long to continue fighting this way. The barrier had already been breached, and although Itachi had went to go dispatch the intruders, it would be best if he finished this quickly. Dashing back, he flashed through several hand signs. Suetun, Senshikuko. 1,000 sharks formed from the still water and rushed forward, creating a wave of hungry teeth. They charged forward viciously. Naruto paled. Shit. Breaking from his stupor, he ran forward. Chakra blades glowing from the wind chakra, he was layering over them. Jumping and performing a front flip, he let loose the wind chakra, which converged to form a giant crescent rising high above the wave of teeth. Burrito Mikidzuki. The crescent tore through the wave like a hot knife through butter, stupefying Kisame. That is, until he realized the attack was heading straight for him. Shit, he barely brought up Samehada to absorb the attack, but wherever Samehada wasn't able to cover was flayed from the wind chakra. Kisame breathed heavily. Even though Samehada had been able to absorb a good chunk of the chakra, the force of the blow felt like the combined force of 1,000 of Guy's punches. His right shoulder and shin had been sliced open. Had he not been layering chakra over his skin in defense, his right leg below the knee may very well have been cut clean off, though his opponent didn't look better off either. The chakra needed for such an attack must have been monstrous. Asterisk huff, asterisk, huff you give up? Huff, Naruto wheezed. Huh, huff as huff if. Kisame weakly retorted. Stubborn bastard. Right back at ya. Kakashi and company had been fighting fervently against the Kisame clones. Though unlike normal clone types, these were much more sturdier and didn't dispel after a few hits. One even had its right arm singed from Sasuke's fireball attacks, and it was still going. They were already struggling, and Itachi hadn't so much as lifted a finger against them. The team panicked after glimpsing the chaos from Naruto's battle. Kakashi was almost beheaded as the clone Kisame swung at his head. I would worry more about your battle than the Jinchurikis. Don't worry, we won't kill him, yet the clone sneered. Irika and the others were having similar problems with their opponents. Damn it, what does it take for you bastards to die? Sasuke yelled in frustration. Both him and Kakashi had driven a Chidori into their respective opponents only to have them shrug it off. Another explosion where Naruto was signified the situation worsening. Naruto, let me through, Hinata yelled, sending a Junkin strike straight to the clone's balls. The pain, too intense for words, forced the clone to dispel, making every man in the vicinity cup their family jewels in pain and fear. Even Itachi. That works too, Sasuke idly commented, though the battle stopped when they saw a figure flying towards them at high speeds. H. The real Kisame impacted with the water near Itachi, sending a huge splash of water flying everywhere. He slowly floated back to the surface on his back. I see you're having difficulties, Kisame, Itachi asked indifferently. Asterisco kov no shit serlo kov Kisame snapped. Itachi nodded and picked up Kisame while the clones dispelled. We shall depart for now. I hope you become stronger, O Toto, until next time. And with that said, they shined after they left. The water diminished till it too disappeared. Naruto, Hinata and the others rushed to the bloodied form of Naruto, who was slowly limping away. He was a mess, his blonde hair splashed with blood, numerous cuts still in the process of healing, some showing the underlying bone. He tried to walk before stumbling to his knees, coughing out blood. The others rushed to the scene as Hinata gently helped him up. Oh God, that was all that Kakashi thought at seeing Naruto's bloodied form. How could he let this happen? They were so close to getting Naruto back, only to find him near death. Naruto fumbled through what remained of his trench coat before pulling out a key, placing it in the air and turning it, prompting a door to appear out of nowhere. He stumbled forward with Hinata's help, soon followed by the rest of the group. They walked into a luxurious home, hardwood floors complemented by the mocha-colored walls. A small hallway led into the living room, which connected with the kitchen. Two couches of soft, luxurious leather dominated the living room, accompanied by a large TV and dark wood coffee table. The kitchen itself had granite countertops with cherry wood cabinets. One side of the living room led to a set of stairs, suggesting a second floor, while the other led to a hallway with 3 doors. Naruto limped towards the latter, leaving a small trail of blood, going to the middle door and opening it, showing a room that was painted in a contrasting white with a bed and medical cabinet. It was clearly meant as a sickbay of sorts. Naruto went over to the medical cabinet, only to be led away by Guy and Kakashi towards the bed. Only then did he seem to recognize them and try to struggle, only to produce a coughing fit. Damn it, Naruto! Stay still, Kakashi grunted, straining against the weakened boy's thrashing. No cough, I won't go cough back. He struggled for a good minute before Kurinai came forward and put him in a Genjutsu-induced sleep. Ino, Hinata, I want you to help Sakura get Naruto stable. We can't travel with him in this condition. Kakashi was interrupted mid-order as Hikari opened the door in her pajamas. Daddy, she said happily, only to stop when she saw strangers crowded around her dad. And worse, they were ninja. Even worse still when she saw her daddy covered in blood. No, I won't let you take daddy from me, she yelled, punching the nearest ninja in the nuts, which happened to be Sasuke, who doubled over in pain. She then ran towards Kakashi and started biting and kicking his shins since she couldn't reach that vulnerable place since Kakashi was taller. Hinata went over to the poor frightened girl and enveloped her in a hug. Shoo, it's okay. We're not here to hurt your daddy. He's our friend. We're trying to help him. She cooed softly to the crying girl. Boo, but those bad men that hurt daddy, they wore your headband. They who hurt daddy a lot. They killed mommy. And she's referencing to something that happened to Naruto 5 years ago. Just to clear up the confusion, the little girl wailed. The team was shocked. Was this why Naruto never came back home? For some reason, the whole group felt sick, as if they were somehow responsible. Don't worry, we'd never do anything like that to your daddy. My name's Hinata, what's yours? The little girl seemed to calm down a bit, but only a little. And my name's Hikari, she sniffed. Hinata smiled. That's a beautiful name. My D-Daddy says it's B because I'm his little light in the sky. She replied. Everyone felt saddened at the unsaid meaning, that this girl was the only reason he had for living. For someone who never gave up, it was unsettling. As Hinata gently rocked the little girl, everyone wondered, how much have you suffered, Naruto? Sakura came out of the room to find everyone sitting in the living room, pensive in thought. Heads snapped up to her as she gently closed the door. The procedure had lasted 6 hours, and despite everyone's exhausted state, none of them would rest. Hinata and Ino had helped for the first 2 hours, but seeing as they had played a more direct role in the battle, any longer, and they would have fainted from chakra exhaustion. Hikari, despite Hinata's efforts, would not go to sleep. What's his status, Sakura? Irika asked, fear growing at her grave expression. I was able to stabilize him, but when I was running a diagnostic, I found something. Sakura looked at Hikari, as if she should not hear what was going to be said. Daddy's going to die. It's okay, I already know. The little girl said, sadly shocking everyone. Which, how did you know? Sakura asked, startled that the girl knew this. D-Daddy said that after he escaped from the Bad Leaf Men with me, that he started feeling sick. He went to a lot of doctors and they told him he's going to die. Daddy told me, but said that I would live with Aunt Koyuki when that happens. But it's going to be okay because I'm going to be a doctor. So D-Daddy won't die, she said bravely. Kakashi turned to Sakura. Sakura, is this true? Kakashi choked. Sakura merely nodded. When I was running a diagnostic to make sure I didn't miss anything, I noticed that his organs were in a constant state of decay. The Kyuubi's chakra is regenerating them as we speak, but the chakra's very nature is corrosive and is doing more harm than good. I can't tell how much time he has left, but it's not much. Sakura replied. Everyone was devastated. Hinata cried, not wanting to believe it. Kami, do you enjoy tormenting me? You're lying, Sakura. You're lying. Hinata yelled, tears flooding her eyes. She's not lying, Hinata-chan. Everyone turned to see the bandaged form of Naruto standing in the hallway. Naruto, you shouldn't be up. You should be in bed still. Sakura gasped. Hikari jumped off the couch and hugged her dad's legs. Daddy, I am sorry. I am sorry. If I hadn't made you take me to the fair, none of this wouldn't have happened. Hikari wailed. Naruto picked her up and rocked her gently. Shush, I'm fine. It was none of your fault, so don't you dare think it was. Okay, Missy? He mock glared before kissing her forehead. He turned to the group. As you can see, Ms. Haruno, I'm fine. Now if you will excuse me for a brief moment, it's way past this girl's bedtime. But I couldn't sleep without a song, Daddy, replied Hikari. What am I going to do with you? Naruto chided before carrying her up to the second floor. The group followed slowly at a distance. Naruto took her down the hall to the third room, which revealed itself to be Hikari's bedroom. The lavender-colored walls were decorated with posters. Many of them were Princess Gale's posters. One, though, was a photo collage which showed Hikari at various ages, playing with Naruto at a beach, pulling Gaara's hair, and imitating Princess Koyuki. Naruto tucked Hikari into bed, giving her a plush red fox. So, what song do you want me to sing this time, twerp? The song you always sing me, Daddy. That one? Again? What? I like the way you sing it. Okay. Naruto relented and picked up a music box, twirling the key several times before it played a soft melody. And the song is Once Upon a December from the animated movie from Fox Pictures' Anastasia. Dancing bears. Painted wings. Things I almost remember. And a song someone sings. Once upon a December. Someone holds me safe and warm. Horses prance through a silver storm. Figures dancing gracefully. Across my memory. Someone holds me safe and warm. Horses prance through a silver storm. Figures dancing gracefully. Across my memory. Far away, long ago. Growing dim as an ember. Things my heart used to know. things it yearns to remember, and a song someone sings. Once upon a December, Hikari let sleep take her and slowly closed her eyes. Naruto kissed both her eyes before turning off the lights. "Good night, my little light in the sky." The group made their way down to the living room quietly, not wanting to disturb the moment. Naruto slowly joined them and made his way to the kitchen and set the kettle to boil. "Do you prefer tea or coffee?" he asked, not once turning to address them. "Coffee." "Coffee. Tea, please. Some jasmine if you have it." "I'm fine. Some green tea, please." "Just water. I'm good." Naruto just nodded an affirmative. He set to cleaning the dishes, tying his hair into a low ponytail, much like Jiraiya. Though unlike the Sannin, Naruto's hair wasn't nearly as mangy and made a somewhat spiky ponytail. The uncomfortable silence progressed onwards for several minutes before Kakashi spoke. "Naruto, we can bring you back home." Naruto visibly stiffened before resuming to clean a pot in the sink. "I am home," he replied without emotion. "Naruto, we're bringing you back to Konoha. Remember, you're home?" Sasuke said. Naruto chuckled. "How ironic that now they sent you to bring me back. Isn't it, Uchiha?" Naruto replied coldly. "Look, Naruto, I'm sorry. I wasn't in the right state of mind, dash." "Or were you now?" "Damn it, Naruto. I'm trying to make amends." "Good for you." The silence resumed. The kettle whistled, and Naruto went over to make everyone's drinks. "What happened to you, Naruto?" Sakura asked. "Crash." Everyone jumped as Naruto threw the kettle into the wall, splashing hot water everywhere and breaking it into 100 pieces. "What happened?" He seethed, not once looking at them. "I'll tell you what happened. I served Konoha just like a good little shinobi. I followed my orders, did what I was told, fought for my home. What does that get me? Thrown into a prison cell to rot. I thought it must have been some mistake. I mean, sure, I wasn't a model shinobi. Pulled the occasional prank and whatnot. Played the role of village scapegoat. Oh, how naive I was. That was until they showed me that the very woman I looked up to like a mother had written me off to die." "What do you mean, Naruto?" Kurenai asked. Figures the old hag would send you here with only half of the info." He chuckled without any humor. Article 58B Clause 65, Subparagraph E. I, Tsunade Senju, hereby authorize use of Protocol 87 APLHA on Naruto Uzumaki to better aid the defense of the Land of Fire from threats within and without. Ring a bell, Kakashi? Everyone turned to a paling Kakashi. "Kakashi-san? What is Naruto-kun talking about?" Hinata asked. "No, it can't be. It had to be a mistake," Kakashi mumbled. "Oh, it was no mistake, Kakashi. The old hag had put her chakra signature on it." "Well, since you seem to be so hesitant to talk about it, let me elaborate. You see, during the First Shinobi World War, Konoha was low on troops, and there weren't enough volunteers to fill the ranks. So the Hokage enacted Protocol 87 APLHA. It entitled the country to seize able-bodied citizens from ages 6 and up and train them. The procedure involved making them resistant to physical and psychological torture, as well as desensitizing them to violence and stripping them of free will, all in order to make them model shinobi. Naruto said sarcastically. Of course, after the war, it was never practiced again since the methods were deemed inhumane, but that didn't stop Danzo, or Tsunade, did it? Danzo? Oh, come off it, Arino. Did you really think I let the bastard die so painlessly? After all he did, oh no, I made sure to keep him alive for a week, just barely. I was able to get Hikari out of there before the sick bastards could do anything to her, but there is no way in hell am I going back there. He paused to check the clock. While I am grateful that you helped me, I will only allow you to stay the night. In the morning, I expect you gone. Good night. And with that, he left the group to brood over this revelation. The group found out that the confines of the house had changed to accommodate them, giving each of them a room with a bed and bathroom and shower. None had moved from theater spots. a depressing aura settling over the group. Each couldn't believe what Naruto had said. Could Tsunade really have done that? It didn't seem possible coming from the old Senju, who had grieved for a good 2 months over Naruto's death, coupled with the knowledge that due to their village's actions that their friend's life was constantly ticking away was too much. "What are we going to do now?" Sakura asked. "Isn't it obvious? We're going to bring him back. The dobe is being stubborn over a misunderstanding," Sasuke retorted. "Tsunade practically thinks of him as her son. Do you think she would do that?" "No. I say fuck it, and tie him up and drag him and his daughter back home." Shikamaru sighed. "You don't get it, do you, Uchiha?" Shikamaru sighed. At seeing Sasuke's confused look, he elaborated. "Naruto is testing us right now. Who's to say that he doesn't have this place armed to the teeth with security systems or fail-safes? No, the only reason that he even let us stay the night was to use us as guinea pigs." "What do you mean?" Sakura asked. "What I mean is that we're the grading bar, or a country representative, so to speak. If we attempt to force Naruto to come back, he will have solidified in his mind that we only see him as a weapon, thus ruining any chance we have of him coming back home. No, our best bet is to convince him to let one of us stay here for a short while, preferably Irika or Hinata, seeing as how they have the best standing with him currently, while we go back to see if what Naruto said really happened." What if Naruto-kun was right?" Hinata asked fearfully. Shikamaru sighed. "I don't know, Hinata. I don't know." "Shikamaru's right for now. Everyone go rest. We'll talk to Naruto about this in the morning," Kakashi ordered, and with that, everyone went off to their respective rooms. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Kakashi mentally berated himself as he pounded away at the wall. He didn't care if the wall remained unchanged from his blows. He didn't care that his knuckles were bleeding. How could he have failed his sensei? How could he have failed Naruto? If he had arrived a few seconds faster at the scene, had he more of Guy's speed, maybe he could have averted this whole situation. What could you have done once you found him, though? Ran away? He was imprisoned by order of the Hokage and council. A black voice whispered in the back of his head. "I would have done something. Sensei always said, those who disregard the rules are scum. Those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. If needed, I would have taken him away," he replied furiously. But what then? From what Sasuke recalls, his right lung was pierced that, coupled with a severed left arm and chakra exhaustion, would require professional medical aid to ensure survival. "You are no medic, Nin. Would you watch helplessly while the life slowly ebbed out of him?" "I don't know, but I would have done something." Kakashi went to his bed to try to sleep, though to no avail as his inner thoughts were in turmoil. Hinata tossed and turned in bed. Sleep would not claim her tonight. Her love, her object of affection, was alive. Yet, why did he seem so far away? Her heart ached when she saw him, trembling with pain and anger. Right then, he seemed so fragile. For a man who was her pillar of strength, unwavering in his determination, it was scary. She wanted nothing more than to embrace him, comfort him, and protect him. But why hadn't she? She was afraid. She was afraid. She was afraid that he abhorred her as well as the rest of the village. Afraid that he may reject her affections. "Your father was right. You are weak," a little black voice in the back of her head whispered. "No, I'm not weak." She got up and left her room, seeing it pointless to stay in bed since there would be no way she would sleep tonight, despite her exhaustion. She wandered into the living, finding some comfort in the soft leather of the couch. She gazed out the window to see the calm sea, a full moon in all its splendor bathing the house in its light. She idly wondered where the house was located before she heard a faint sound upstairs. Curiosity guiding her, she slowly and silently ascended the stairs. As she reached the second floor, she stopped, unsure of where to go. Then she heard it again, coming from the end of the hallway. The second door from the last to the left was left open, a faint light illuminating from the doorway. Using the moonlight flowing in from the windows to her right to guide her footsteps, she made her way there slowly but surely. She peered around the side of the doorframe. The room seemed to be a workshop, with ninja equipment stored here. Racks of assorted kunai and shuriken decorated the walls, high enough to be out of reach of a certain little 5-year-old. Glass cabinets filled with sealing scrolls and exploding tags occupied the far right wall. Above it was a locked wooden cabinet that, judging from the glass door, contained an assortment of vials and sealed jars. Drawers filled with spare chakra armor parts resided in the far wall opposite of the doorway. To the left lay a workbench currently occupied by Naruto, who was busy running repairs on his detached chakra armor prosthetic. Hinata thought it was cute how his eyebrows furrowed in concentration. Stupid, asterisk mumble mumble asterisk, shark face, asterisk mumble asterisk, stubborn ass damn it. Where'd that coupling go? Naruto muttered, cursing under his breath as he searched the room for the piece. Hinata found said part laying near her foot. In Naruto-kun, is this WH what you're looking for? Hinata asked, holding out the little piece, cursing herself inwardly for her stuttering. She thought she had gotten rid of that long ago. Naruto looked at her, a small smile gracing his lips that made her melt inside from its warmth. Thank you, Hinata-chan, he replied, taking the piece and resuming to work on fixing his arm. Shouldn't you be resting in Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, uncomfortable in the silence. Naruto chuckled without mirth. These days I hardly sleep much, less I remember. Oh, I'm Suri. Hinata mentally berated herself for making the conversation take a morbid turn. Naruto shook his head. It's okay, Hinata-chan. You didn't know. With that said, he went back to work. Click, click. Chi-cha. Click, chick, chi. And, I know, the sound effects suck, but how would you write the sound of a screw turning? If you want Naruto-kun, I could help. Hinata offered. Naruto smiled softly. Thanks, Hinata-chan. Could you hand me that part over there? He pointed to one of the drawers. Hinata nodded and gave him said piece. For several minutes things went like this, Hinata offering the occasional assistance, helping screw a piece in, swapping parts. And even though not much was said, Hinata wouldn't trade this moment for anything. Just being there with him made her heart soar. And we're done, Naruto said, picking up the prosthetic and attaching it to his left shoulder. The chakra gems faintly glowed to life, and after Naruto tested its movement, deemed it satisfactory. Hinata was silently sad, wishing to spend more time with him, though she was stirred from her thoughts when she felt something crawling up her pant leg. She looked down to see some obscure, 8-legged creature crawling up her leg to the desk. Eat! Hinata shrieked and wrapped her arms around Naruto without thinking. Naruto chuckled. Relax, Hinata-chan, they don't bite. Naruto replied. The thing crawled into the lamplight, revealing it to be a construct of chakra armor. Its body consisting of a single sphere like chakra crystal. 2 of its 8 legs were cradling a scroll with a spring daimyo's emblem. Naruto unfurled it and skimmed over its contents. After finishing, he let out a sigh. Good. It seems most of the civilians left due to the Jinjutsu before the fighting started. That's a relief. Naruto sighed. It was then that Hinata noticed Naruto's state of dress, or rather lack of it. The only clothing he wore was some gray sweats, leaving his upper body in all its glory to be seen, of course that which was not covered by bandages. Hinata felt her face growing a flush crimson, and struggled not to faint and backed away quickly only to stumble. Eat! Hinata fell backwards only to feel 2 strong arms envelope her and support her. Her face was mere millimeters away from Naruto, who grinned in amusement. Careful there, Hinata-chan. I don't want you fainting on me, he teased, bringing her back up to stand on her own. The moment was brought to an end as they heard stifled cries coming from the hallway. Both turned to see Hikari clad in her pajamas, clutching her plush fox in a loose grip, sobbing. Daddy, she wailed and ran up to her father, who picked her up and cradled her to his chest. What's wrong, honey? Naruto asked, cradling his daughter as she cried into his chest. Asterisk, HIC, asterisk, I had a HIC nightmare. I had a nightmare that you died and IHIC was all alone. She sobbed. Naruto rocked her gently in his arms. Shush, it's okay, baby. I'm here. It was just a bad dream. He cooed. Hinata's heart tore at the scene. It wasn't a bad dream. Hikari's father, the man she loved, was slowly dying, and soon the nightmare would be a reality. Hikari calmed down and noticed Hinata as if for the first time. Oh, hi, Miss Heinanian dash. The little girl struggled to remember her name. Naruto chuckled. It's Hinata Hyuga, but you could just call me Hinata, she said. Hikari's eyes widened. You one of Daddy's friends when he was with those bad leaf men? She asked. Hinata flinched at the painful reminder that her village was the reason for Naruto's condition. That's right. We were friends in the academy. He was my role model, Hinata replied, her sad tone at the word friends completely missed by the little girl. Cool. My dad. Yup, now time for bed squirt, Naruto said as he hefted her over his shoulder. Hikari whined, begging for a few more minutes. I'll sing you another song. Instantly, Hikari became quiet and jumped off her dad and ran to her room and snuggled herself in her bed in a cocoon of covers, with just her head popping out. Though Hinata could hardly blame her, as she too loved the sound of his voice and stood in the doorway to listen. Can you sing me that new song, Daddy? Hikari asked, making a cute pleading face towards her father. Naruto chuckled and rubbed the back of his head. Are you sure? I'm still working on it. Yup, it's already perfect. Naruto sighed and got up to retrieve the acoustic guitar that lay in the corner of the room and strummed it a few times. Okay, well, here goes. The following song is Paradise from Coldplay. When she was just a girl, she expected the world, but it flew away from her reach, so she ran away in her sleep and dreamed of paradise. Paradise. Every time she closed her eyes, when she was just a girl, she expected the world, but it flew away from her reach and the bullet catch in her teeth. Life goes on, it gets so heavy. The wheel breaks the butterfly. Every tear, a waterfall. In the night, the stormy night, she'll close her eyes. In the night, the stormy night away, she'd fly. And dreams of paradise. 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 Oh, do. La 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 la. La 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 la. And so lying underneath those stormy skies, she'd say, oh ho ho ho, I know the sun must set to rise. This could be paradise. Paradise. This could be paradise. Paradise. This could be paradise. Do. Midway through the song, Hikari's eyes had drifted asleep. Naruto gently laid the guitar next to the bedstand and kissed Hikari goodnight. Sweet dreams, he whispered. As he stood up, Hinata hurriedly brushed away the tears in her eyes. The song was beautiful. She could simply not describe it in any other way. Though despite its beautiful melody, something about it, something sad, made her want to cry. Naruto took her hand as he led her out of Hikari's room. Come on, I have something to show you, Naruto said as he ushered her back to the first floor down the steps. Hinata felt her heart leap into her throat as she held his hand. How can he do this to me? Send my heart in a state of bliss from a simple smile? Does he know it? She was brought from her musings as they approached one of the walls of the living room. I don't see anything in Naruto-kun, Hinata stated. Naruto merely grinned and placed his palm against the wall, numerous seals becoming visible before fading away to reveal a glass sliding door leading out to a beach. Look underneath the underneath. Now, Mississippi Hyuga, would you kindly join me for a stroll? Naruto said with an over-lavish bow, hand extended towards her. Hinata stifled a giggle at Naruto's antics. Despite all that had happened to him, some of his old self was still in there. Why, yes, I'd be glad to, Hinata said in a pompous, noble way and placed her hand in his. They both grinned as they walked towards the shoreline. The scene took Hinata's breath away. The moon was so magnificent, so pure. The moon was so bright that it bathed everything in a pale, eggshell blue. The sand was a fine grain that felt smooth against her bare feet and was neither too cold nor hot. It gave that feeling of comfort you feel when you wake up on a weekend and just lay in the softness of your covers. She wondered how such a heaven on earth existed without anyone knowing. "Naruto, where are we?" she asked after a pleasant walk. "Nowhere," he replied, kneeling down to hold a hermit crab. "Huh," she replied. He took her hand and put the hermit crab in her grasp. She looked at the little creature, something seeming odd about it to her. She then noticed the finely interwoven links of chakra armor and the glowing chakra crystals for eyes. No, it couldn't be, could it? I made this. This place is my little haven for Hikari. It exists nowhere and everywhere, Naruto said, sweeping his arm to across the whole beautiful landscape. What do you mean? This whole place, this whole world, if you will, is artificial, made from interlapping seals which occupy space yet don't exist at all. I wanted Hikari to grow up in a place that no matter how cruel or corrupt the outside world becomes, she will always have this little haven to call home. Naruto replied, absent-mindedly petting a chakra armor crab that came up to him when he sat down. Hinata felt her heart clench painfully at the unsaid words. So that, even when I'm gone, she can be safe. Hinata sat down beside him and leaned on his shoulder, taking comfort in his warmth and presence. You don't have to go through it alone, Naruto-kun. What do you mean? He replied. Hinata hugged his arm and drew him to her side. You try to shoulder everything alone, raising Hikari, this pain, fighting for her to be happy. We're your friends, Naruto-kun, even if you don't think so anymore. We still care about you. I care about you. So much. But we can't help if you don't let us in. Let us help. Let me in. Let me shoulder your pain. Please, Naruto-kun. She softly pleaded. Naruto looked at her sadly. I wonder, what did I ever do to gain the affections from one so beautiful as Konoha's Lavender Maiden? He replied sadly, twirling a strand of her silky hair between his fingers. Hinata blushed considerably at being referred to beautiful. She snuggled into his shoulder, sighing contently. That's because when I thought myself useless and weak, you were the only one to support me, to tell me I truly was strong when I believed otherwise. You were the first to show me kindness regardless of my standing. She replied. Naruto sighed sadly. I just don't know Hinata-chan. She stopped a mid-sentence as she embraced him, head tucked into his chest, her body quivering slightly. Let me in. Please, Naruto-kun. These 7 years when everyone thought you were dead, I felt dead inside. It felt like someone had ripped my heart out of my chest. Please, don't push me away. She whispered. Her fear grew as the silence stretched, though dissipated as she felt Naruto's arms wrap around her in a loving embrace and his head rest atop hers. I really don't deserve such a wonderful woman like you, he whispered. Hinata smiled. You don't know how wrong you are. The groups trudged in slowly into the dining room adjacent to the kitchen. Most had little, if any, sleep throughout the night. Hell, guys seemed normal. That should tell you just how bad everything was. Though, Hinata seemed to be in better spirits than last night, Kakashi noticed as he looked over the group. The gentle sound of the ocean waves, coupled with the soft sounds of seabirds, created a peaceful melody, the brilliant sunlight illuminating the room, making the morning complete. The group noticed Naruto already awake, making breakfast. There were 13 plates set up on the cherrywood table, one for each of them. There were already several large plates in the middle containing an assortment of fruits, bacon, eggs, pancakes, crepes, and other assorted breakfast foods. There were several pitchers of iced water, orange juice, and apple juice. I'm finishing the sandwiches right now. Coffee's in the pot if you want any. Milk and cream are in the fridge. Naruto addressed them, not once turning to grate them, idly whistling a tune. The fact that he seemed to calm down from last night seemed to ease everyone's nerves and make them somewhat suspicious. Sasuke in particular, who hadn't taken his eyes off of Naruto. "Team, it's not poisoned if that's what you were thinking," Naruto replied. Everyone's jaws dropped. Well, except for Hinata and Sasuke, the latter of which merely smirked. "It's good to see the dobes still in there," he replied. HN. A comfortable silence ensued as the group digged into the free meal, amazed at how delicious it was. The food almost felt like it had melted their taste buds. Who knew Naruto would turn out to be such a good cook? Asterisk on asterisk daddy. Everyone turned to see Hikari still in her pajamas, her blonde hair undone from theater pigtails and slightly frazzled. She held her fox toy in her left hand lazily, dragging on the floor by its tail. She rubbed at her sleepy eyes cutely. Naruto set aside the skillet, seeing as he had already dumped the cooked sandwiches onto a plate on the table, and walked over to his daughter. "Hey, sweetie, have a good sleep?" Hikari nodded and raised her arms in a childish hold-me way. Naruto picked her up and set her down in one of the empty seats. Everyone sighed at the cute father-daughter scene. "Here you are, honey," Naruto said as he brought over a glass of orange juice and a plate of pancakes shaped like a toad's head, slices of strawberries and kiwis to make the eyes with a sliced banana to make the mouth. Only after doing so did he sit down along with the rest of them, nursing a cup of black coffee in his left hand. Breakfast progressed like this for a while until Hikari slowly lost her dizziness and realized who else was at the table. "Oh, good morning," she replied cutely. Everyone replied in kind. Her gaze settled on Sasuke. "Oh, I'm sorry I punched you in the nuts, Mr. Duckbutt." Anyone who was eating or drinking at the time found themselves choking and or doing a spit take. Hinata stifled a giggle at Hikari's nickname for the Uchiha. Naruto seemed unfazed, though, and contently sipped his coffee. "That's my girl." "Dobe, what have you been teaching her?" Sasuke yelled. Naruto chuckled. Nothing, so when do we meet the old hag?" He waved dismissively. The silence that followed made it possible for a person to hear the sound of dust bunnies hitting the ground. "Hi." Sakura was the first to recover. "Naruto, you're coming home, dash." Naruto held up his hand to silence her. "No, Ms. Haruno. I'm just paying a visit so I can bop the old hag to relieve some stress. After I hear her reasons and whether or not I decide to kill her, then I will decide. Hikari, you're going to be visiting Auntie Koyuki while Daddy bops some heads in." "Yay!" Hikari ran around the living room. "I'm going to see Auntie Koyuki." The group couldn't help but shiver at the sadistic smile that graced Naruto's face. The group waited uneasily as Naruto went to go drop off little Hikari. Naruto wouldn't really kill Tsunade, would he? And if he still hated her after all these years, how would he react once he saw Kushina and Suki? Kakashi's mind was running a mile a minute, trying to find a way to prevent the worst-case scenario. They couldn't send a person beforehand, seeing as how Hinata found out the entire construct was encoded only to him and his daughter. He couldn't contact Tsunade either. Crap. Come on, think. There has to be a way to settle this peacefully. Even Shikamaru was drawing up a blank on ideas. The sound of a door opening alerted them that their time just ran out. Naruto came back through a door that popped out a wall. Unlike in the land of spring, Naruto was dressed for war. He wore a skin-tight, sleeveless black shirt that extended into a mask very much like Kakashi's. He wore black loose cargo pants and ninja boots that stopped before the knee. His belt had various sized weapon pouches and scroll holders. His tanto, was on shoulder holster on his left. He wore a black fingerless glove on his right that ended midway up his bicep and had interlocking gray metal plates outlined with red paint. All in all, he was fearsome and threatening, embodying the concept of a missing Nin. "Are you all ready?" he asked, his voice as cold as tempered steel. They all nodded. "Wait." Naruto paused mid-motion of opening up the gate and turned back to Kakashi. "Naruto, why don't one of us go first? To let all of your friends know you're back." Kakashi attempted in a lame excuse. Naruto shook his head. No, either we all head there, or you all leave. He replied. Kakashi slumped in defeat and nodded. Naruto turned and opened the door and led them through, revealing them to be in the waiting room of the Hokage's office. As the door shut, it faded from view. Naruto walked on, ignoring Shizune's shocked and frightened look. He kicked open the doors before she could collect her thoughts and greet him. God damn it, Shizune. I told you I'm not seeing anyone else, Tsunade yelled, but gaped like a fish at who she saw. She slowly rose up from her desk, her eyes watering as she walked over to Naruto, hand reaching towards his face. And Naruto, eyes that you dash. She never got a chance to finish, as his chakra armored hand slammed into her face with extreme prejudice, sending her flying out the wall of the Hokage tower into the roof of a nearby house. Only her skills as a superb medic prevented any serious damage done. And Naruto? She asked disbelievingly as she held her bruising cheek. Naruto jumped from the opening of the tower, warning sirens blaring as A and BU were called in. He walked slowly, a sense of barely held and rage flooding all of Konohagakure, freezing the majority of the populace in absolute fear. It was like the QB all over again. No, scratch that. It was 100 times worse. Images of the village razed to a ground flashed through the eyes of all those affected. Old hag, he stated, his pupils turning into slits, his eyes a frosty blue, his voice colder than the ninth circle of hell. Article 58B Clause 65, Subparagraph E, Protocol 87 Alpha. Ring any bells? He spat. Kushina had taken up on looking through the old photo albums in their house to help pass the time while she waited for the team to return with her son. The first 2 days she had spent fretting over every little thing and hardly got any sleep. She had found a box of photo albums when she was cleaning the closet one day, and while the memories were often painful, they were a method of passing the time. Suki was coping with the weight in her own way, if increased nervousness and committing genocide on dust bunnies can be called a coping mechanism. Suki was making the entire Namake's estate spick and span, not a single spot left untouched. When she was not cleaning, she was throwing herself into her training, not having taken any missions in the past few days so that she could be here to meet her big brother when he came. Currently, Suki was practicing her taijutsu on several practice dummies in the backyard. The thumping of her fists and feet against the wooden dummies resounding throughout the estate. Kushina, meanwhile, sat on one of the chairs that occupied the wooden patio overlooking the yard. It turns out Sarutobi and Irika had taken to making a photo album of Naruto growing up and all of his accomplishments. Tsunade had found it one day in the office after going through all the paperwork in her cabinets. She gave it to her on the second day since the Naruto retrieval team's departure. Yet, despite the fact that her son was smiling in all of the pictures, she felt a pain twist in her chest, as cold as steel. It was a reminder of all the things that she wasn't there for him. She wasn't there for his first day of school. She wasn't there when he became a genin. The list went on and on. She just hoped that when he came back that she could make amends. A few stray tears made their way to the album, before Kushina hastily wiped them away. Suki by now had long finished her training and had come to stand over her to see the pictures for herself. I can't believe Oni-chan after all this time was still alive, she whispered, hugging her mother. Kushina patted one of her arms absent-mindedly. And soon he'll be home. We'll do things just like a family. See movies, go to festivals. Kushina was cut off as they could hear klaxons off in the far distance coming from the Hokage tower. On cue, an A and BU appeared kneeling before them. Uzumaki-sama, I have orders to ensure your safety and urge you to take shelter. Byaku's masked A and BU declared. What's happening? Kushina asked. There's been an attack on the tower targeting the Hokage. There are no civilian casualties so far, and the surrounding area has been evacuated. MBU are currently moving in to support Hokage-sama. How could an entire ninja force make its way undetected that far? Suki pondered out loud. You are mistaken, Uzumaki-san. It is a soul assailant, a shinobi, though from where we cannot say. It is most likely an assassin, then. Come, Tsuki. We best deal with the pest before your brother comes home. Can't really roll out the welcome mat with a party crasher now, can we? Kushina said as she went in the house to gather her equipment, Suki soon following suit. Kushina donned a black bodysuit with red streaks, a jounin vest, and shinobi sandals. On her waist lay strapped a beautiful katana and several weapon pouches. Suki put on her chunin outfit and a wakizashi in a red sheath. They made their way to the gates, only to be stopped by the ANBU. Uzumaki-sama, I have orders to keep you both safe, he stated. Kushina smiled before walking past him. Well then, you better come with us. Wouldn't want to defy orders now, would we? She smiled before dashing off, soon to be followed by Suki. The ANBU fumbled for a reply, only to sign defeat and follow. He never meant for things to turn out like this. Sure, he wasn't going to make it easy on the old hag, sure. He came here for closure, to know why she had signed him off to become no more than a weapon. But not this. But when he saw her on her normal drinking binge, acting lazy like he remembered, it was like something snapped. As if those 3 years of hell didn't matter a damn thing to her. After that, everything went red. Drip. 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 How long had he been here? He couldn't tell if it was day or night. The room he was confined to devoid of any windows. The guards would constantly wake him up during odd hours. He couldn't even remember the last time he slept a good night's rest. Would be good days. He didn't remember. Drip. 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 It was funny, he was starting to look like Gaara, with dark rings forming around his eyes. Maybe this was what he felt like. He didn't know, he couldn't really ask him. Drip. Drip. He could hear the keys rattle on the other side of the door. It was the guard, along with the old man and 2 Root. The place was so quiet that he could tell their steps a mile away. Would it be a mile? How long was a mile? He found himself forgetting things more often and tried to keep them for as long as he could. The walls were covered with writings of odd things, fruits of his efforts to chronicle his mind before it left his grasp. Ino doesn't like it when you tease her by calling her pig. Kakashi likes to read Aika Paradise. Sasuke is a team. Ichiraka Ramen is the best. Hinata's nice, shy, but nice. It went on like this, in no order whatsoever. The men had already come into his cell. He stood up and stared at them. He wouldn't bow like a dog. He wouldn't be broken. The old man grunted, and the Root to his right punched him in the gut repeatedly for several seconds, knocking the wind out of him. He doubled over in pain, all that he could do with his chakras suppressed. Seems like you still have some defiance in you. We should get rid of that soon, the old man says. He spits in his face from his prone position. The man sneers angrily. He gestures to the Root Nin, who drags him by his hair outside his cell into a room with a monitor. The Root Nin kneeled down and forced him to look into the screen. It showed a buxom blonde laughing with friends at a bar, tossing back jokes and having idle conversation. How does it feel? The old man whispered into his ear. How does it feel, knowing that the very mother figure of your life signed you off to this little hell? You see, she doesn't give a damn about you. No one really does. To them, you're just a ticking time bomb, waiting to dash. He turned around and viciously headbutted the old man, splitting the skin on his wrinkled forehead, blood seeping in his good eye. You fucking brat. 10 hours disciplinary treatment. Don't even stop if he begs. The man snarled to the other Root, leaving the room. The Root Nin stepped behind him, though he could hear the telltale buzz of a lightning jutsu. For the next 10 hours, he would scream in pain, the screen playing on a loop of Tsunade's laughing face. They dumped him in his cell, his back scarred heavily with no treatment whatsoever. He would lay there until he awoke when the pain dragged him from unconsciousness, waiting for it to start all over again. Drip. 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 Bleach OST, Bleacheristadt. He held up a worn and crying Tsunade by her neck, her hands scrabbling futilely against his chakra armor prosthetic. I told you. I didn't know what you're talking about. Tsunade choked, tears streaming down her cheeks. How did things turn out this way? How did it all take a turn for the worst? Don't fuck with me, he snarled, tightening his grip ever so slightly. 7 years ago, 3 days after that battle, you signed me off to a life of hell. He roared, throwing her to the adjacent building, only for Jiraiya to intervene and catch her in midair. He gently set her back on her feet, his face devoid of any of its usual mirth or humor. Seeing the woman you love get pounded into a pulp can do that to you. What the hell have you done with Naruto? He yelled. Naruto chuckled humorlessly. What do you mean, Ero-senin? I'm Naruto, he replied. Don't bullshit me. Am I the student, the Naruto I knew would never dare think of hurting Tsunade? Jiraiya snapped back. Naruto merely laughed. It was unsettling to hear, its usual warmth tainted by something sinister. I guess you just don't know me that well, do you? You shitty excuse for a godfather. Naruto sneered. Jiraiya gaped in shock. He had never once told him that. How did you dash? Naruto cackled. Wouldn't you like to know? Why don't you ask the bitch? He said, jerking his head in the direction of the barely standing Tsunade. No one's coming to save you, boy. His mouth tasted of copper as the blood flowed. He spat out blood as he tired to get rid of the taste. He couldn't tell how long he lay hanging here. His wrists had started bleeding from the ministrations of the rough shackles that bound him, though those were the least of his worries. One of his attendants was busy at the moment painting surgical instruments with his blood. You're wrong, he rasped with his parched throat. When was the last time something besides his blood had soothed his throat? A day, maybe 2. He couldn't remember. The attendant viciously twisted a serrated blade in his chest. He struggled to maintain consciousness, darkness ebbing away at his vision as he felt the painful process of his left lung knitting itself back together. It would go on like this, like the ticking of a clock, only stopping when he broke. Cut here. Rend. Rip that. For how long these ministration would continue, he could not tell. Only when his mind grew silent, when he couldn't feel nor see, would they stop. The old man shook his head, as if he was sadly disappointed with him. My boy, you've been here for 6 months. They've forgotten about you, moved on. Even your godfather abandoned you from the start, he said, slapping a file on the workbench in front of him, showing a form for a legal guardian with Jiraiya's photo attached. What? No, it couldn't be. You're lying. The old man shook his head. I'm afraid not, my boy. Jiraiya the Sannin requested to be your godfather to your parents. Unfortunately for you, he thought his spy network and peeping tendencies to be more important than the rearing of his godchild. Sad, yes. But this is reality. The quicker we break you from your naive concept of the world, the faster the pain will go away. Continue for 3 more hours. Make sure not to do any lasting damage. With that said, the man left, leaving the smiling picture of the Sannin to stare at him during the attendant's ministrations, as if to mock him. Cut. Rip. Tear. Tsunade, what's he talking about? Jiraiya asked. I don't know. He just keeps repeating Protocol 87 Alpha. I thought the practice was stopped after the first Shinobi World War. She responded. Don't you lie, you old hack. Naruto roared. At first, I thought it was a mistake that someday you or Kakashi would come and get me out of there. He replied, his voice dying down, pain evident in his eyes at the recollection. His body trembled. Oh, how wrong I was, that bastard. He showed me the order. It had your fucking signature. You authorized it. He screamed. On who? Tsunade asked confused. Naruto charged forward, chakra blades glowing with malignant energy. On me. Kushina was making her way closer to the conflict, Suki and the ANBU right behind her. In mid-leap between buildings, the group was thrown to the floor from a massive explosion that rocked the site of the conflict. Shit, she cursed, picking a fragment of roof work out of her left arm. This was just no run-of-the-mill assassin. Someone wanted Tsunade dead bad. Without a moment's hesitation, they sped off again, now being joined by other Yinbyu and Jonin. She just hoped they weren't too late. The Naruto retrieval team sped off towards the site, rushing into action as soon as they recovered from their stupor at seeing the Hokage, one of the strongest women in the world, being smacked around like a rag doll by their old friend. Damn it, Naruto wasn't kidding when he said he might kill her. Kiba yelled over backwash of the explosion. Listen up, our focus is to neutralize Naruto and try to settle this peacefully. There has got to be a way we can resolve this. Kakashi ordered. Everyone nodded in affirmative. He said he wouldn't. Everyone turned to the, until now, silent Hinata, who was trembling. What do you mean, Hinata? Asked Ino. Last night I talked to Naruto and convinced him to come back. He needed to get over this. He still wanted to know why Tsunade did that to him. He said that he may not stay depending on her answer. But he said He wouldn't do anything drastic. Something must be wrong for him to do this. As if to support her statement, it was at this time that Shizun used the mechanical 8 trigrams formation drum on the urging of the Shinobi Council to contain the threat. The telltale earthen walls of the Karakuri hack no Jin, encasing Konoha in a resolute labyrinth. Doton, Yumi Numa, Jiraiya yelled, flashing through the necessary hand signs, turning the ground in front of him to a murky swamp, catching Naruto in place. Now let's talk this out peacefully, Naruto. Jiraiya pleaded. Tsunade was frozen in shock. She knew all the horrors Protocol 87 Alpha entailed. How could that have happened to her Naruto under her very watch? She felt horrible. Naruto struggled for a bit before smiling, freaking Jiraiya out. Missed me, and poofed out of existence. Jiraiya acted immediately and picked up Tsunade and dodged to the left as Naruto came crashing down with an axe kick that would have caved in his skull, creating a small crater. What's wrong, Godfather? Is dealing with me not as important as peeping on women or writing your books? He sneered, his eyes drowning in cold anger. His 9 braids thrashed around like the tails of an angry beast, bladed ends creating deep gashes in the ground. Naruto, listen, Dash. I'm done hearing lies. Naruto roared. 2 of the chakra blades separated into 5 jointed blades apiece, forming clawed metal hands. They flashed through hand signs at a rapid rate. Fton, kanasimi no echi. Wind chakra coiled around his right arm, condensing into a visible form that encased his hand. The wind chakra stretched from his fingertips, forming 2-foot-long talons. In an underhand swing that left deep gouges in the dirt, he unleashed 5 blades of wind chakra that kissed the earth, speeding ever quickly towards the 2 Sannin. Jiraiya sidestepped just in time. Some of his hair nicked off as the blades cut through a building and 3 of the earthen impenetrable walls before stopping. Well, used to be impenetrable. Damn it, Naruto! Ran Hisigami no Jutsu. Jiraiya's hair, elongating itself past normal proportions, sailed towards Naruto and bound him around the torso, and threw him through one of the adjacent buildings, caving in several of its walls. Given a momentary respite, Jiraiya tried to snap Tsunade out of her funk. Tsunade, snap out of it. He shook her, but she wouldn't even look at him as her body trembled. How? How could I have let him go through that? How could I have let that happen to him? She mumbled. Look at me, Jiraiya yelled, yanking her face up to look him in the eyes. You can mope around all you want later. After we stop Naruto, then you'll knock some sense into him and have a happy family moment. But first you gotta live through that. Tsunade snapped out of it and smiled at him. Thanks, you old pervert. Anytime, but after this you owe me a date. He replied. Swanda laughed and punched his shoulder jokingly. Persistent like always, she chided. A rumbling underneath them shook them out of their banter as they quickly dodged in opposite directions. Futon, Tunaringu, Fu, and not a second too soon as Naruto erupted from the ground in a maneuver much like the Gitsuga of the Inuzuka, the only variation being that all 9 of his chakra blades forming a spinning drill point. Though he did not have much time to pursue an attack, as some of the Leaf Ninja and ANBU had caught up to the scene. Nakuden Sunsha, Naruto was plowed to the side as Chose's enlarged spinning form collided into him. Wait, capture him alive. By no means is he to be killed. Tsunade intervened, not wanting Naruto to be unwittingly killed by his former comrades in arms. Some of the shinobi paused at this. Hokage-sama, are you sure? He tried to sassy dash a random Chunin asked. Are you questioning my orders? She replied icily. The man gulped. And no Hokage-sama. With that, the shinobi sped off, only to be confronted by an amazing sight. Naruto was holding off Choza with a single hand. Get out of my way, he roared, cocking his left fist back, piston extending from the elbow, only to bring it back to smack into Choza's still spinning form with a thunderous boom, sending the clan head flying through a store. Inoichi ran towards his comrade. Choza. Naruto then turned towards the 2 Sannin, only to stop suddenly. Big mistake. Shikaku said behind Naruto, their shadows joining. Now be a good shinobi and stay there. Naruto smiled and replied in a single word that caused the Nara to dive for cover. Boom! Naruto violently exploded, blood and viscera painting the battlefield. A fleck of blood hit Tsunade on her cheek. She touched it and looked at her blood-smeared fingers with horror. It was just like that time at the Valley of the End. Oh God, she could see it all. There was so much blood, and now it was happening again. She cradled her hand and sobbed. This time it was real. No, Naruto, she cried. All the shinobi present gasped in shock. That was Naruto? Oh God, Inoichi said in shock, realizing whose liver lay next to his feet. Why would he do that? Shikaku asked. All were startled as they heard an odd clapping sound and looked up to see Naruto sitting on a roof, awning unscathed. What a wonderful performance. What's wrong, old hag? Thought your secret weapon died? Sorry, I don't intend to be meeting Shinigami-san too soon. Naruto sneered. Inoichi gaped in shock. But what was that? He asked, pointing towards the bloody mess. Naruto dropped down and walked towards his remains, idly picking up the severed head while twirling a kunai. You like it? I call it Seigo Bunshin. More draining than a shadow clone, but lasts longer and dies more realistically. Why would you do something that's sick? Shikaku asked. Naruto visibly stopped before gripping his kunai in a reverse grip. He shrugged. You do something over and over again, and you get better at it. You could call a kill like having a conversation with Shinigami-san. Frightening, and it stays in your mind forever. Hell, me and him are close friends. Once you're like me and have to kill, whether it be man, woman, or child just to get through the day, you're just not quite sane at the end. Right, old hag? He sneered at Tsunade, stabbing his head to emphasize points of his speech. Now, why won't you do me a favor and die? He yelled, running towards her prone form. The marble-floored hallways echoed with her footsteps. The large windows that graced the hall showed a beautiful scene, the trees' leaves fading to a gold hue. Soon, fall would come, with winter following close behind. She didn't mind the cold snows of winter. How could she? She grew up with them. It just made her appreciate the embrace of spring even more. Yet, despite the beautiful view, she couldn't help but worry over Naruto. Her men had arrived at the site after Naruto had disappeared, though not without leaving a bloody trail behind. Those few hours of not knowing kept her up at night. Her imagination had run rampant with various horrors Naruto could be going through, and she couldn't do a thing. She remembered how she had cried with joy once he sent one of those chakra golems he had created, informing her that he was fine and asked if anyone was hurt in the chaos. It was just like him to worry about others, even those he did not know. And while she was happy that he was safe, she could help but feel lonely with their absence. The small family had grown on her, Naruto becoming something like a little brother and Hikari a niece. She would have loved to have them come live with her in the palace. Maybe it was because she understood how it felt being alone. Even now, it was like she could hear Hikari playing in the halls. Wait a second. That was Hikari. Did they decide to stay after all? She ran to her bedchamber to be greeted by the sight of Hikari, wearing one of her movie costumes, spinning in a chair. Hikari, she said, and ran up to the little girl and gave her a big hug. It's so good to see you. Where's your dad? She asked, looking around for Naruto. Hikari held up a letter. Daddy said he had to go bop some leaf heads and sent me to stay with you, Auntie Koyuki. Hikari answered. Daddy was going to wait for you, but one of the maids said you were going to be busy, so he left this for you. Koyuki looked oddly at the letter before opening it. Koyuki-chan, sorry to spring this up on you, but you were right. My past is catching up with me. I have business in Fire Country at the moment to tie some loose ends, so I need you to watch over Hikari for me. Sorry that I'm always asking favors from you. Naruto. Her hands trembled as she read the letter. That idiot. What is he thinking? This cannot end well. Images of his rampage when a group of Leaf Nin came passing by a year ago had a member who was one of his attendants during his stay in hell sprung up in her mind. It had taken her and several of his friends to calm him down. They managed to pull of the deaths as an ambush from a group of missing Nin. That wasn't what had scared her, though. It was Naruto. He had acted as a completely different person. Hikari, she asked. The little girl stooped, swinging the chair, and looked at her foster aunt. Yes, Auntie Koyuki? Do you still have the key your daddy gave you? Hikari nodded, showed her palm towards the daimyo, and channeled chakra through it, showing a complex weave of seal arrays. Yup. What? I was thinking we could go visit Yujito-san for a bit. Yujito-chan? Yeah, we haven't seen her in a long time. Come on, let's go. Hikari squeaked in glee, grabbing Koyuki's hand and dragging her through a door she made pop out of thin air using the seal. With no more than 3 steps did they arrive outside Yujito's apartment in Kyumo. It was a decent sort, colored a soft brown and having an excellent view of the city. Koyuki didn't have time to pay attention to the view as she knocked without heed on the door, not caring if Yujito was busy or had company. Several angry stomps later, a ticked-off Yujito with bed hair yanked the door open. If this is another one of your rapper get-togethers, I swear I'm gonna rip you a new one. Do you know what time it is? Yujito faltered at the sight of a frightened Hikari behind Cookie. We're sorry, Yujito-chan, Hikari whispered fearfully. Right, then Yujito felt like the biggest jerk on the planet. No, I'm sorry, sweetie. It's just I was a little cranky from my nap. Yujito cooed as she hugged the little girl. Koyuki chuckled. The little girl could make a dictator go on his knees and beg for forgiveness with a single tear. Once this was done, Yujito led them into her place. It was relatively cozy and gave off a peaceful, lazy aura. Yujito gestured for them to sit on the couch before going into the kitchen. So Hikari, where's your dad? I thought you two were going to visit Gaara now that the movie's finished. Oh, and thanks Koyuki-san for the premiere tickets, by the way. Yujito said from the kitchen, raiding through her fridge for something to drink besides milk. Koyuki got up and held out the letter Naruto gave her. That's what I thought as well, since they had left after an incident with some foreign Nin. But Naruto dropped little Hikari off at my place, since he had business to attend to. She said, pressing the letter into her hands. Yujito looked confused, but nonetheless read the letter. Comprehension dawned on her as she finished reading it. She looked up to Koyuki to confirm, who merely nodded. Hikari, why don't you watch TV for a bit? Koyuki-san and I have to get something. Yujito called. Hikari nodded and tuned the channel to one of the kids' shows while Yujito picked up a phone and rapidly tapped a number. Ring. Joe, what's up, Miss Kitty? Still looking pretty. Emergency. Get over here. Now. And with that, Yujito hung up and led Koyuki out onto the veranda. Several moments later, Killer Bee showed up, after which Yujito activated the privacy seals on the veranda, making it impossible for anyone to see them or snoop in on their conversation. Killer Bee here. Nothing to fear. He shouted only to be whacked on the head by Yujito. Damn it, Bee. now is not the time for one of your raps. She yelled, annoyed by his habit. Read this, she said, pushing Naruto's letter into his hands. B read it and looked over it twice just to be sure. Naruto, always in trouble. We better go Yujito on the double. B rapped as he shook his head. Yujito nodded and walked towards the door back into her apartment. Let me get my stuff first. Why is it that men always act so stupid? She vented to no one in particular. Once inside, she went over to Yujito, who was busy watching one of her favorite cartoons. Hikari, sweetie, me and Mr. B have to go do something really quick, but when we come back, we'll bring your daddy with us, so we can all have fun, Kay? Hikari didn't seem pleased with this and pouted. Boo butt, I just gotta see you, she whined. I know, but tell you what, once we come back, I'll make you your favorite treat. Yujito replied. Hikari's eyes shined with sparkles and her mouth watered a bit. Why you mean? Yup, I'll make my famous triple chocolate, white chocolate, milk chocolate, and dark chocolate brownies with strawberry and vanilla gelato and baked bananas. And to any of you who have never tried something like this, it's fucking delicious. Yujito said, knowing she now had Hikari hook, line, and sinker. Okay, Hikari nodded enthusiastically. There's just one thing. What? Hikari stopped. Yujito smiled slyly behind her hand as she looked in mock contemplation. Well, you see, the mission me and B have is air all the way in Fire Country, and would take us 4 days to get there. However, if you were to, say, use one of your gate that your dad gave you, it would take an hour or 2, maybe 4 tops. She baited. Hikari jumped up and puffed out her chest. Sure, but I only know some towns near the border, she replied. Yujito waved her hand dismissively. That's okay, as long as it's in Fire Country, Yujito said. B, get in here. We're going, she hollered. B came in and gave little Hikari a mock salute, which she giggled at. Hikari used the seal on her hand and made a door in the middle of the room. It goes to the outskirts of Monohan, 3 hours into Fire Country from the Suna border. That's great. We'll be back in a bit, sweetie. With that set aside, the 2 Jinchurikis walked through the gate, only to have it disappear behind them. Immediately, they were assaulted with the fragrances of the surrounding forest, the sun still high in the sky. Once Yujito had estimated Konoha's relative location, she sped off with B in tow. For a while, neither spoke, too focused on helping their friend. Unit'll be brought up an interesting point. Yo, I don't mean to go off track, but how we supposed to get back? Yujito face-palmed. Jiraiya sped forward to meet Naruto head-on with a ball of swirling chakra in hand. He plowed it straight into the blonde's chest, avoiding his punch by a few centimeters by his slightly longer reach. Rasengan, though, instead of being driven back, Naruto merely poofed. Shadow Clone. The shinobi present looked around, tried to pinpoint the blonde, some of the ANBU taking up defensive positions. Above us, one of the Jonin shouted. Everyone turned up to see the distant figure of Naruto flashing through hand signs. Jiraiya paled. Shit, everyone move. Now, everyone scrambled away, and not a moment too soon seeing as how Naruto had finished preparing the jutsu. Futon, Tapo Hamafuru, a enlarged and modified version of the air bullet technique, fell onto the district, creating a rather large crater that encompassed a whole block. Die, old hack, he roared as he sailed down towards them, fingers on his chakra armor prosthetic sharpening into talons. 2 ENBU jumped forward and flashed through hand signs. Futon de Tapa. Gaton, Gaki no Jutsu. Both of the jutsus sped towards Naruto and collided at the same time, making a powerful explosion. It was at this time Kushina, Suki, and Thea ENBU guard arrived on scene. Oh shit, OHSHIT. This can't be good. If Kushina ends up fighting Naruto. Kushina, fall back dash, Kushina rushed on, not heading a word. What was that? Sorry, couldn't hear you over the sound of me kicking ass. She hollered back, Suki following close behind. Naruto fell from the explosion, his figure swathed in black smoke. Suki dashed forward and delivered an axe kick, sending Naruto tumbling towards the earth, the impact so hard it made him bounce several feet in the air. Kushina, wrapping her katana with chakra chains, swung it down like a horned whip, slashing viciously through the chest before striking back and impaling him through the heart, stuck to the wall. Kushina and Suki stood confidently facing the group. Bleach OSD, treachery end. See, that wasn't so hard now, was it? She said boastingly, only for the group to look at her in horror. What? Do I have something on my face? She asked. Tsunade, barely getting out her shock, saw a sight that horrified her even more. There was Naruto, pinned to the wall by his own mother's sword through his chest. Naruto. Kushina froze and looked fearfully behind her, as did Suki. What she saw would haunt her for the rest of her days. There hung her son, impaled on her sword. She collapsed to her knees, shaking. And no, oh God, no. And Naruto. She choked. Suki looked horrified. Ooni I-chan was all she managed to say before she started heaving on the floor next to her. Her older brother, whom she wanted to see so much, she had just helped her mother kill him. A dark laughter broke them from their sadness. Hee, asterisk cough, asterisk, what's wrong, mother? Cough, aren't you happy to see your son? Naruto replied, slowly extracting him and the sword from the wall. He looked down at the blade for a second before slowly pulling it out. No, Naruto, don't. Tsunade pleaded, trying to rush over there to help him, though some ANBU blocked her way. Naruto still wanted her dead. Everyone watched horrified as the blood flowed out of the wound, pooling around his feet. That hurt, mother, he said icily, but not as much as you leaving me. And Naruto, I'm so. Maybe I should show, wait, I should make you feel my pain. The pain from those 3 years I spent in hell. He roared. FFVI Crisis Core OSD, the summon play. A red chakra shroud formed around his, violent and thrashing out against several nearby buildings. Then it retracted, solidifying itself till Naruto was no longer visible. The chakra shroud became an assortment of black form-fitting armor plates with red between the gaps. His helmet, think Hakumen's helmet from BlazBlue, except that it has other plates underlapping the faceplate, basically making a full helmet, devoid of any opening save for the 2 red eye slits resembling the eye lines from a traditional fox mask. His blonde mane was gone. In its place, 9 thrashing links of red chakra chains, each with a blade attached at the end. His killing intent flooded Konoha, even making it hard for those in the emergency shelters to breath. He held up his right hand as a tailed beast ball formed in his palm, blades of wind chakra spinning in random orbitals. Do you like it, mother? He said, gesturing towards his form. This is what my home did to me. This is what you left me to. And now, Kakik, I get to kill you. Time to die, mother. Skillet, monster play. Everyone stared in shock and horror at Naruto's form. His presence was overpowering. The orb of destruction held in his hand spinning erratically. With calm, methodical steps, Naruto slowly approached the prone forms of his mother and sister, his metal mask leering at them. Time seemed to stop for Kushina. No, how could Naruto, the sweet little boy that everyone had told her of, be so twisted by hate? Malice and anger oozed off of him, permeating the very air, suffocated them in its presence. For one of the few times during her career, Kushina was afraid. Suki was no better off. All her life, she had wanted to meet her older brother, the kind and funny boy she had always heard about. The brother that stood before her was nothing like the one that she was told stories of. By now, Naruto, no more than a few feet in front of them, the wind chakra blades orbitals getting more violent and chaotic, as if excited for what was to happen. 20 years. The two started at Naruto's voice. They looked up at him, regarding them with absolute loathing. Why? Was all Kushina could dumbly reply. The malevolent aura seemed to intensify at her words. The orbitals grew even more chaotic, the blades lengthening. The 9 chakra chain tails from his helmet thrashed violently, gouging deep scores in the earth. One lashed out at one of the adjacent buildings with a quick flick. The building violently split apart, the ground ripped apart by a deep fissure. 20 years, you abandoned me. You left me alone for 20 years in hell. He roared, blowing the wind around them violently. Kushina paled, her heart almost stopping. "Na Naruto. I'm so sorry," she choked. "Shut up," he roared. "I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing lies. I'm sick of the excuses." He went to his knee and yanked Kushina's hair roughly with his free hand, drawing her face close to his sneering mask. Her eyes dilated in fear. The eye slits offered no sympathy, no mercy. It was like staring at the point of a blade, the last thing you see before you die. His other hand held the orbiting ball of death, which was now spinning like a saw blade, was slowly going closer to her face, intent on tearing her head to shreds. "Any last words, Kushina?" he asked in a voice that would turn flames to ice. Before she could respond, Guy and Lee came to the scene, both already past the first gate of opening release, their feet connecting to Naruto, sending him flying through several buildings, leaving a trail of wreckage. Kushina woke from her stupor and grabbed her daughter and leapt away before the discarded, demonic Rasengan had a chance to touch the ground. Everyone followed her example and fled from the area. No sooner did it so much as come into contact with the ground did all hell break loose. The explosion covered 8 entire blocks, though that itself, while fearsome, was not what scared all the shinobi shitless. It was the shape itself. It was not the standard explosion you see from an explosive tag. The fear for itself was that of a raging fox that rose to the sky, all the while ripping the surrounding landscape to shreds. Before it dissipated, it had turned to the shinobi and sneered before exploding outward in flames, spreading quickly to the surrounding buildings. Tsunade recovered her wits first and began ordering the ANBU to contain the fire from spreading. Jiraiya stared in horror. "Dear Kami," he completed it. He muttered to himself. He shook his head and headed to where Naruto had crashed, to try to subdue his godson before things got even more out of hand. The Naruto retrieval team had came to the scene and followed him. "Jiraiya-sama, what happened?" Sakura asked, all of the group sharing fearful expressions. "The brat tossed us around like rag dolls. Then Kushina and Suki almost killed him by accident. After he saw them, he went berserk and did that." He elaborated, jerking his head in the direction of the smoldering crater. Luckily, Guy and Lee intervened before he killed Kushina. Everyone paled at the thought that Naruto would actually attempt to kill his own mother. "Look, I know you all care about the Gaki, I do too. But you can't half-ass this. Right now, he's not in the right state of mind. You hold back, and he will kill you," he stated gravelly. Everyone reluctantly nodded and steeled themselves for a battle of their lives. Naruto extricated himself from the crater he made in the mountain wall. Before him were Guy and Lee, their skin red from the effects of the gates. Though at what level he could not tell, though he would have guessed at least gate 3 from the force of their kicks. "Guy-san, Lee, I wish we did not meet under such circumstances." He stepped forward and both of them tensed. "Please do not get in my way." Lee and Guy shook their heads. "I cannot stand aside. Please, surrender. I do not wish to fight a friend and rival." Lee yelled, "Naruto, what happened to your flames of youth? Do not let your mind be clouded by this rage." Guy added. Naruto sadly shook his head. "Step aside," Naruto replied, and took a step forward, only for Guy to rush forward with inhuman speed, executing a perfect roundhouse kick connecting with his head. Geki, Konoha Kangariki Senpu. Naruto was sent flying with explosive force, breaking anything in his path. After going through what felt like 7 blocks, Lee appeared and delivered a fierce uppercut that sent him flying into the air. Naruto sailed through the air, the wind buffeting him on all sides, only to be met by Guy. Hiradora. The wind exploded outwards in the form of a rushing tiger, slamming into Naruto's still sailing form at full strength. The air trembled with the force of its roar as it sent Naruto hurtling towards the ground below. H.I.'s insides felt scrambled from the force of the blow. Even as he hit the ground, the force made him bounce several stories in the air, only to be hit away by on of Lee's kicks. They weren't going to give him a moment's respite. "Let me go to my son." Kushina struggled against the ANBU guards restraining her, as well as Suki. Both were in hysterics. "God damn it, Kushina. He'd kill you as soon as he sees you," Tsunade bellowed. All the collective shinobi shivered at the recollection of just how willing Naruto had been to wipe his mother off the face of the earth. Though she would never admit it, at that moment Naruto had scared her more than any other moment in her past history as a shinobi. Kushina was having none of it, though. "No, look, I know he's angry and he's hurting, but I have to make things right. You won't be doing any good by coming back in a body bag," she retorted, a tremor running through the village only supporting her statement. "Now, I order you to fall back." "No," Kushina cried out and elbowed one of the ANBU guards restraining her, then using the newfound slack to roundhouse kick the other ANBU, dashing off into the source of the conflict. "Goddamit, Kushina. Umbu, restrain her," Tsunade ordered, prompting several ANBU to take to the roofs, hot on the redhead's trail. No one noticed Suki using the distraction to subdue her guards and follow her mother, desperate to try to make amends with her brother. "See, Kitty? Told you we'd get here in a jiffy." Smack! "Is now the time for raps," Yujito thundered, pointing off into the chaos that was ensuing in the village. As if to support her remark, several notable explosions went off in the city, smoke clouds blossoming in the air. "Aw shit, man. So, Kitty, what's the plan? Can we just go in and bop some heads? Or run with Naruto like lead?" And, in advance for you B fans out there, writing his dialogue is difficult, especially with his rhymes. B asked. Yujito shook her head. "The latter, even though we are two of the 9 Jinchuriki, I don't want a chance taking on a whole hidden village while looking after Naruto at the same time. No, our safest bet is to locate Naruto as quickly as possible in this chaos undetected, then calm down Naruto before hightailing it home," she stated. B started chuckling, prompting a tick mark to grow on Yujito's forehead. "And may I ask, what's so funny at the moment?" she yelled, pointing off to the distant explosions. "You said tail," B replied. Yujito face-palmed before smacking B upside the head. "You good?" B merely nodded, and without any further delay, the two sped off into the chaos that was Konoha. Skillet, Monster End. BlazBlue OSD, Gluttony Fong Play. Mado Guy unleashed a roar as he performed a flying kick towards Naruto, only for him to catch his foot and toss him into Lee, who was leaping in toward his left. The two collided and were sent sprawling into an adjacent building. "Stay out my way. This does not concern you," Naruto growled. He didn't want to fight Lee or Guy, two people he sympathized with, but they were leaving him no choice. They would not listen to him, though, as Lee sprang from the rubble to unleash a barrage of punches at Naruto. "You know that I can't do that, Naruto," Lee replied, never slowing in his punches. Naruto dodged and ducked with ease, not wanting to injure his friend more than necessary. Though catching Guy diving towards him from the sky in an axe kick, Naruto was forced to dive out of the way. The ensuing crater from the blow assured him that the two were not pulling their punches. Before Guy could follow up on the failed attack, Naruto whipped one of his chain tails around the Jounin, slamming him into the ground before using him like a wrecking ball on a nearby wall. He turned towards Lee just in time to catch his punch aimed at his face. He turned to see his friend's face, which instead of rage, showed a sadness bellied by the tears he shed. "Why are you doing this, Naruto? Why would you turn on your H-home?" Lee asked. The cold aura returned to Naruto from before. It felt as if the surrounding temperature had dropped several degrees. Naruto reversed his hold and threw Lee over his shoulder. "You would never understand, even if I told you," he stated. With his momentary obstacle out of the way, he made to go after that woman, but before he could even get away from the village square, a giant fireball careened towards him. Katon, Grika no Jutsu. Though much to Sasuke and the group's horror, Naruto made no move to dodge the dragon-shaped fireball. The resulting explosion was deafening. Hinata's heart clenched in dread. No, 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 no. He's gonna be okay. He's strong. Naruto always has been. We can go easy on him. Oh, Kami, what if? Hinata was saved from her internal fretting as the smoke cleared, showing Naruto standing there, hand outstretched with smoke billowing from his open palm. Not a scratch or scorch on him. Stay out of this, Uchiha. I'm afraid I can't sit back and watch you destroy your home, Naruto. Sasuke retorted. Naruto chuckled mirthlessly. It was soon blown out into full-out laughter. Funny that I hear that coming from you, Uchiha. Now, get out of my way, Naruto declared vehemently. Are you that willing to destroy everything your father worked for, Naruto? Asked Kakashi. Everyone felt an oppressive weight forcing them to the ground. Don't speak of that man to me, Hitaki. He is just as guilty. Naruto growled out. He made to dash away. They had already wasted enough of his time. That was until a series of kunai with exploding tags rained down around him. The explosions overlapped each other, creating a thunderous boom that seemed to last for seconds rather than a moment. After the smoke cleared, Naruto turned to address the two new assailants that joined them. Hello, Ten, Niji, or should I say Tiger and Dragon? If the two AMBU were startled at being identified so easily, they didn't show it. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. The Hokage has ordered us to detain you before you cause any more harm. We will use lethal force if necessary. Please, make this easier for yourself, friend, Niji said, foregoing his normal cold demeanor. Naruto's chain tails thrashed angrily at the remark. So that's it? The old hag thinks I'll kneel before her after everything they've done to me? I'll kill that bitch. Naruto roared. By now, several ANBU had also arrived, forming a considerable force. Niji shook his head sadly. I don't want to do this, Naruto, but you leave me no choice, he said ruefully as he drew his tanto. The others followed suit. Team 7 and company readied their weapons. As one, they all leapt towards Naruto. The next few seconds, the shinobi of the leaf would describe as one of the fiercest battles for their life. Yo, kitty, are we close yet? How much you want to bet? At that moment, a serious shitstorm started brewing towards the eastern wall. I can guarantee you that Naruto's behind that, Yujito stated before sidestepping a flying porta-potty. What is it with him and porta-potties? He shrugged before they set off. An ANBU to his left made a swipe towards his jugular, while another to his right went for his Achilles' tendon. Jumping into the air, he corkscrewed until horizontal on the floor, kicking the ANBU to the left in the head while twisting the wrist of the ANBU to his left, forcing him to relieve his tanto. Upon touching the ground, he twisted the ANBU's arm behind his back before throwing him into one of his comrades. Kicking up the discarded tanto, he caught it in mid-arc, using it to deflect a hail of incoming kunai before flinging it at an ANBU, pining him to the wall by the clasp of his chest armor. Another ANBU came forward with a katana posed to strike. Naruto caught it mid-swing and clenched his fist, snapping the blade in half. Grabbing the stunned ANBU by the head, he slammed him face first into the ground. Two ENBU emerged from the ground, only to be caught by two of Naruto's chain tails and thrown into a vending cart. Several more flung a hail, or shuriken, that would have made most jounin pale. Naruto drew null and deflected the incoming hail of steel with ease, his right arm working in a flurry of sweeps that even to the most sharpest ANBU, I seemed like a blur. Several of the ANBU made way for one of their own who carried a gourd of water on their person, who was currently flashing through hand signs. Suiton, Suiridan no Jutsu. The dragon sprung forth from the gourd and rushed at Naruto, who made no move to get out of its path. Just when it looked like it would hit, he backhanded it and sent it into a group of 3 Yanbiyu off to the side. 2 other Yanbiyu ran up to him, the first using the other's shoulder to go up above, both of them flashing through hand signs. Futon de Tapa. Gaton, Gaki no Jutsu. The 2 volatile jutsus rushed forward towards the Jinchuriki. The resulting explosion sent up a giant dust cloud, obscuring the battle scene. A tense silence followed for several seconds before two of the chain tails speared out from the dust, wrapping themselves around the two ANBU, slamming them into the ground before flinging them away. Naruto slowly strode out of the crater and scathed. "The same thing won't work twice, you idiots." His chain tails twitched and thrashed in annoyance. BlazBlue OSD, Gluttony Fong End. The ANBU looked ready to pounce and do a follow-up attack, until Niji came forward flanked with Tenten and the rest of the Konoha 11. Niji held up a hand to signal the other ANBU to stop. The silence that followed was only interrupted when Naruto's tails would gouge the earth. Hinata walked forward, her eyes pleading. "And Naruto, please, SD, stop this," she begged. Naruto looked away, his fists trembling. For in those few seconds, in her watery, lavender eyes, he saw himself. He didn't like it. He felt angry at himself, at everyone. Even now, after everything, he was still the monster. After what all those sick bastards had done, after what that bitch had done to him, he was still the villain. He couldn't stand it. "Step aside." Hinata looked in surprise, her eyes widening. "Well, what, Naruto?" she asked, taking a step forward. Before she could go any further, she felt a little prick at her throat. Once she realized what it was, she froze, and the group behind them started with a collective gasp. There, drawing a tiny prick of blood that slithered down Hinata's neck, was one of Naruto's chakra chain tails, the fearsome pointed blade tip just barely parting her skin. Naruto turned towards Hinata, the mask helping in hiding the turmoil and rage he felt stirring inside him. "Step aside, Hinata. I will not stop, not even for you," he stated coldly. The next thing that happened stunned everyone. "No," Hinata stated defiantly, staring Naruto full in the eye. "What?" Hinata held her gaze, not flinching at the edge in Naruto's voice. "I said no." In a flash, every single chakra chain tail was pointing their bladed ends at her head and throat, dangerously close. Several of the assorted ninja were baffled and scared at what Naruto might do in his state to the Hyuga clan head. "I said, step aside." Naruto ground out. Hinata stood her ground. "No. Don't you dare try to defend them. I thought you would understand, Hinata. Do you know what the hell they did to me? Do you?" he roared. Hinata found herself unable to say anything. He chuckled darkly at Hinata's silence. "Tell me, Hinata, do you know what it felt like to see you all go on with your lives while some bastard was opening up my chest to see what differences there are in a Jinchuriki? It's quite a different experience while you're awake, let me tell you. Do you know what it was like to see Hikari's mother killed before she could even see her daughter's face? Do you know how many times I prayed for death and live in that hell? The only thing that kept me going was my daughter. Do you know my pain? Do you? Tell me, Hinata," he roared. Hinata was trembling at the end of his speech, tears flowing from her eyes. She looked like she was going to collapse to the floor and cry her heart out. Anyone there could feel it, the intense waves of anger, hurt, sadness, and most of all, pain that flowed from Naruto. It did not go unnoticed by the new arrival to the scene. Koide and Cambria, welcome home play. In Naruto, everyone froze. Kushina could not have come at a more inopportune time. Kushina had arrived at the scene to see her son facing Hinata and rushed in without another thought. Naruto didn't need to see her to know it was the woman he hated most of all. All of the lingering emotions in the air were blotted out by one oppressive, all-consuming emotion: rage. A baby's cries could be heard. What normally would have been music to an expected parent fell on deaf ears for Naruto. He couldn't staunch the flow of tears at the sight of his beloved, lying there on the table, her belly slit open like some sick dissection project. She cried and sobbed in pain. "Nah, Naruto-kun, where are you, dear?" she called out fearfully, weakly looking around the room. "I'm right here, honey. Don't worry. Everything's gonna be okay." He choked, all the while struggling against the restraints placed on him by one of his attendants. His wrists bled from struggling against his chains, but he could care less. He just wanted nothing more in the world than to help his beloved to stop the flow of blood, every second making her look paler. The room was cold, almost as if the Shinigami himself was standing over her. One of the medical staff came in, the rusted hinges of the door protesting audibly in the room. She turned weakly towards the man clad in medical scrubs. "May I see my CH child?" she pleaded. The man gave no acknowledgement of the request. Subject 1344. B. You are no longer required. It was over. It was a simple flick of the wrist, and her fate was sealed. Naruto screamed as what little blood left in her body bled from the slash on her throat. Even as the shock suppression seals activated, he strained against them, calling every single shred of anger he could. He fought for what seemed to be days, only when he finally did stop the seals deactivate. Danzo by then had strolled in to see the sight. With a wave of his hand, his attendant released his bindings. He rushed over and cradled his wife's now cold limp form. She didn't deserve this. She deserved so much better. I should have. He couldn't stop the flood of tears that streamed down his face. Several of the medical monitors had turned on, displaying a group of people celebrating a girl's birthday. Danzo grabbed his head and shoved it towards the nearest monitor. Naruto could see Kushina smiling and hugging a girl very similar to herself. People were laughing and drinking. It seemed so surreal that something so happy and joyful could be happening at this moment, where he held his dead beloved. "Happy birthday, my little ball of sunshine." "Thanks, Mom. This is the best birthday ever." "You see," Danzo whispered in his ear, "she doesn't give a damn what happens to you or your daughter. She replaced you. How could she ever want you? You're the reason her husband and so many of her friends are dead. To her, you are nothing." That day, something in him cracked. You bitch. I'll fucking kill you," Naruto roared, turning around and dashing towards his mother, all of his tails poised to kill. Hinata ran after him. "No, Naruto, don't. Sasuke now." Sasuke and Kakashi ran forwards, their hands aglow with the lightning. Suina Kukurin. The lightning shot forward from their hands, arcing along with each other before colliding with Naruto, lighting his form aglow. "Gra!" Naruto screamed as his form twitched, the destructive chakra coursing through him. Not giving him a moment's respite, guys slammed into him and unleashed a barrage of punches that staggered his form, before Kiba pulled the final blow. Gitsuga, though instead of plowing him into the wall, Naruto remained where he stood until Kiba finally lost his rotation, revealing Naruto's head to only be slightly cocked to the side, his eye slits glaring. "My turn." Grabbing Kiba's fist, he pulled him into a knee to the gut that blew all the air from Kiba's body before tossing him to the guy who caught him, which was a mistake on his part as Naruto vanished only to appear in midair in front of Guy. "Gwasi no Kama." Naruto roared, unleashing a series of rotating wind-enhanced kicks that sent the taijutsu specialist flying, with Kiba trailing afterward. They didn't travel far though, as Ana Naruto's chain tails caught them and hurled them into a nearby store. He jumped towards where the rest of the Konoha 11 were gathered, Kushina included, and leapt in the midst of them, creating a shock wave as he landed, forcing everyone to leap away. Kakashi revealed his Sharingan Iwal Niji, and somewhat reluctantly, Hinata activated their Byakugan. Sasuke had already activated his cursed seal mark as a precaution, while Sakura put on her gloves, discarding his weights. "Naruto, think about what you're doing," Kakashi pleaded, hoping to settle this amicably. "I've been dreaming of this for years." Naruto roared, foregoing any strategies and just charging at them. A hail of assorted weaponry stopped him. Ten stood atop of one of the rooftops, modified catapult storage scrolls in hand. "Don't think this will be easy," Ten retorted before unleashing a new hail of weapons. Naruto ran forward unhindered, several of his tails furiously deflecting the weapons until Ten switched to explosive notes which detonated around him, forcing him to divert away from them. By then, Jiraiya had arrived on scene. "Lead him outside the village walls," he ordered, as 1010 tried to corral Naruto outside Konoha's walls. That is, until he sent a giant chunk of masonry her way, forcing her to evade, giving him all the time he needed before sending her flying into a wall with a vicious left cross. 1010 slid down the wall, dazed. Sakura came to her rescue, though, as she sprung up from the inside of the house, delivering a vicious uppercut. Sakura, while arguably one amongst the most sought-after kunoichi of her generation, was still feared for her mighty strength that could send an Akimichi flying. Yet the uppercut had not even so much as rocked Naruto back on his heels. "Not so easy to push me around, is it, Haruno?" Naruto chuckled coldly before grabbing her head by her hair and flinging her into Kakashi, who was sneaking up on him with a suppression seal in hand. "Kurori Kantaro," Choji roared, the enormous amounts of chakra forming a pair of pulsing butterfly wings consisting solely of chakra. The dust billowed around him before the Akimichi charged, Sasuke joining him, aiming to strike behind. "Kodenba Kogiki, Chidori Iso." Naruto stood there, chuckling mirthlessly. "Perhaps I should up the ante too," he remarked, activating a seal array on his left arm. Seconds before impact, two colossal hands warped in front of the attacks, halting them entirely. "What the hell?" Sasuke remarked. Everyone stared in awe as it slowly materialized into being. Kakashi shocked as comprehension dawned on him. It was ghastly, a structure made of chakra armor, humanoid in nature, with a gaping maw as its chest. Its face was the of a human's, but skeletal in appearance, its maw stuck in a ghastly grin with two small horns on its forehead. Further down, it resembled a snake, as it had no legs to speak of and its spinal cord was elongated and constantly twisting about. The whole structure was hovering in the air, with several seals placed over its body and forehead. It crushed Sasuke's lightning jutsu while tossing Choji. "Naruto, tell me you didn't..." Kakashi stammered as the puppet's glowing green eyes swiveled over to him. Naruto cackled. "Do you like it, Hitaki? Did you honestly think that after everything I went through, that I would allow Danzo and his men the sweet release of death?" Everyone looked at Kakashi in confusion. "Kakashi-san, what is Naruto talking about?" Kushina asked. Kakashi shook ever so slightly. "Those tags, they're container seals." Everyone's eyes widened at this. "Why you can't mean Kakashi-san?" Kushina trailed off. "Oh yes, mother, that's exactly what he means. After everything those bastards did to me, a life of eternal suffering seemed a suitable punishment," Naruto said, gesturing towards the construct. "In Kugyo no Haka resides the soul of every single person involved in Protocol 87 Alpha. And soon, I'll seal you into it too," he roared, rushing towards them. Naruto dashed forward with his grisly puppet in tow, intent on carrying out said deed. Sasuke, hot on Naruto's heels, brought his blade to bear down on Naruto's back, only to have it swatted away by the puppet's hand, its ever-present grin mocking him. Naruto continued on in the direction of his mother, unhindered though. Sasuke attempted to give chase, but was forced to dodge as the puppet's hands elongated into claws and nicked his arm, drawing blood. Such a shallow wound the stoic Uchiha would have normally ignored, if not for the case of nausea, pain, vertigo, and a migraine that assaulted him, rolled up in one package. He slumped to the floor, unable to stand any longer. Sakura and Lee, noticing his predicament, rushed over to help and stave off the automaton. Sakura rushed over to Sasuke, whereas Lee went to distract the puppet. Sakura quickly scanned over Sasuke's body form injuries, but was puzzled that the only injuries she could find on him were a few shallow cuts on his arm, a very minor injury. To be sure, she ran a diagnostic jutsu to double-check. What she found made her complexion pale, considerably in fear. "Lee, get away from that thing," she screamed. Lee, who was about to execute a flying kick in the direction of the automaton's head, heeded her words and backtracked. and not a second too soon, as the puppet released a purple cloud of miasma that would have most likely have killed Lee. Kugyo no Haka didn't stop there though, and launched several Senbon needles from hidden compartments, all the while slashing and clawing at the shinobi. Even Lee, with all his speed, was hard-pressed to dodge. Sakura scooped up Sasuke's form and rushed down one of the alleyways, with Lee following suit. They dipped and weaved through the streets of Konoha, and judging by the sounds of destruction behind them, the automaton was close behind. It seemed the puppet had no head for obstacles as it burst through a section of wall in front of them, its eyes aglow much like a predator chasing its prey. The two were hard-pressed to dodge the volley of Senbon in the close confines of the alleyway. Lee threw a few kunai with exploding tags at the surrounding walls, causing their structure to collapse and cave in that section of the alleyway, buying them a few moments with which they used to flee away. After gaining a considerable distance between them and the monster, Sakura set Sasuke against a wall while she tried to treat him using what medical supplies she carried on her. Asterisk cough cough asterisk, so how bad is it? Sasuke asked. Sakura looked pensive. Not good. You're lucky you activated the curse mark to level 1. Otherwise, this poison would have spread through your bloodstream and liquefied all your major organs and killed you in seconds. She replied, all business. Am I gonna die? He asked. Sakura shook her head. No, I can treat it, but not here. I don't have the necessary tools on me. At the most, I could subdue the symptoms for about 30 minutes. After that, I need to rush you over to the proper facilities. Sasuke paused, taking all this in before offering a suggestion. What if I activate the second stage? How long then? Sakura ran some mental math before replying. About an hour. Anything longer than that is unlikely. Just at that moment, Kugyo no Haka ghosted around the corner, its maw gaping open in anticipation, the green flames that served as its eyes wisping out of its sockets as if in anger. That'll have to do, Sasuke stated as his skin darkened and the whites of his eyes turned black. Koide and Cambria, welcome home end. Manifest, impossible play. The collective shinobi prepared themselves for Naruto's charge, though were stunned as he suddenly disappeared from sight. Everyone's collective hearts froze at his sudden display of speed. The next moment he appeared in front of Kushina, fist cocked back. She was barely able to erect a hasty defense of chakra chains just in time, but to no avail as his fist shattered the chains, slamming into her and propelling her into the air a considerable distance. Luckily for her, before she splattered bloodily against the forest floor, Jiraiya leapt to catch her. Jiraiya, what have I done? She asked, her normal stoic attitude all but faded in the presence of her son's hatred. Slap. For Tsunade now you. Where the hell did the bloody habanero that Minato fell in love with go? You were gone for his whole life. Of course he'd be pissed. So what? Would that stop the Kushina that I know? Jiraiya yelled. Kushina chuckled before shaking her head. No, you're right. She would also do this, she replied as she socked him in the gut, bringing him to his knees. Asterisk wheeze asterisk. Fata girl, Jiraiya gasped before righting himself. Now let's regroup with the rest of the team. Facing Naruto in this state head-on would be suicide. But sure enough, Naruto was right on them, mowing down the surrounding trees without a care. Di alreati, he roared, jumping up to deliver a fearsome punch to the ground that put Tsunade's to shame, making the earth erupt violently upwards in a fan formation, pressing the Sannin and Jounin's evasion skills to the test. The earthen pillars were almost as big as small mountains. As the tremor stopped, Jiraiya and Kushina stood atop two of the tallest earthen pillars, looking for Naruto. Hinata, Niji, Gai, Kakashi, Asuma, Kurinai, and Iruka soon joined them. So what's the plan? Iruka asked. Whoever was going to answer was cut off as Naruto leapt up to them, swinging an earthen column the size of the Hokage monument at them. With one hand, the group became slack-jawed at the monstrous feat of strength. Holy shit! We're. Fuck. The group managed to leap away before being splattered to a pulp. The pillars they had briefly stood upon reduced to pebbles in the collision, releasing a massive dust cloud that covered a fair share of the now decimated forest. As the group tried to catch their breath, a boulder flew out of the dust cloud in their relative direction. The group easily dodged it, Guy diving under it while the rest dived to the sides, expecting Naruto to use this as a distraction for a follow-up attack. Oh, if only Guy knew. As the boulder spiraled, it revealed to show Naruto, who had been previously clinging to its surface. Guy barely noticed his presence and turned around to block as Naruto sent a devastating punch his way that sent him flying. Not long after he had jumped off the boulder, did several exploding tags placed on it detonate, sending the other shinobi out of the way as they dodged the hail of shrapnel. Naruto quickly darted towards Kushina, only to have Neji cut him off with a gentle fist strike. Naruto ducked his head while using his left arm to strike at Neji's arm from below, but much to the ANBU captain's credit, he didn't so much as flinch from the dull pain in his forearm and continued his assault with a strike aimed at Naruto's larynx. Naruto cocked his head to the side before he spun around, blocking Kakashi's kunai with null while slamming Neji away with his chain tails. Kakashi brought his second kunai to bear, ducking under Naruto's guard and aiming a strike at his gut. Naruto, using Kakashi's shoulder as a springboard, launched himself towards Kushina, his eyes crying out for blood. "Come on and face me, Kushina," he roared. Kushina, her face set in determination, brought out her katana to bear. A blade running along the length of his left forearm protruded, its edge sinisterly sharp. Kushina brought her blade to block the slash he sent towards her neck. Sparks shot out at the ferocity of the blows. Had Kushina's blade been of any lower quality, Naruto's blade would have broken clean through her katana and proceeded to have slit her throat. She felt the ground beneath her feet give way to a crater from the monstrous blow, but she still held on. Seeing as how Kushina would not back down, Naruto brought Null overhead and brought it slamming down on her left wrist. While Null had no edge to speak of, with the right amount of force, it could still break bones. An audible snap echoed throughout the clearing. Kushina cried out in pain before darting away, her katana gripped loosely in her right hand. Her entire left hand screamed in pain. She could already tell it would be useless to try and use it anytime soon. Her entire wrist had already turned a dark, sickly purple and had swollen considerably. Though despite this, she bravely brandished her katana one-handed against her charging son. Unfortunately for her, mercy was one thing Naruto did not hold for her. That much was evident in the force behind his blows. With each strike she deflected, her arm rang with the vibrations. She could feel her hand growing numb just from the first few blows. At one particular blow, Naruto leaned in, applying his weight to his blade, making Kushina tremble beneath the force while leering in her face. "What's wrong, Kushina?" he whispered. His chained tails, which she had forgotten up until now, snaked around her, pointing at her head and throat. One in particular nudging the skin over her jugular, ever so slightly so as not to pierce the skin, yet still feel sharp against her, in a caressing-like manner. Her eyes dilated as her knees started to quiver. No, it couldn't end this way. Not now. Not after just barely finding her son again. She started to sob uncontrollably. "Are you afraid, Kushina? Just a flick? That's all I need, and your life is over." He hissed. "Don't worry, dear. I won't let it end that quickly." He seethed, one of his tails darting towards her left leg and slicing a deep gash on her thigh before landing a punishing kick on her left side, crushing her kidney and winding her. Kushina gasped in pain, her prop katana the only thing stopping her from collapsing. She bled like a stuck pig and tried to limp away, only to be grabbed by her hair and slammed face first into the ground. This was repeated several times until he shifted his grip to lift her by her throat. Her beautiful face marred by blood paled in fear. She frantically tried to claw away at the hand holding her, desperate to get away. His eyes danced with mirth at her attempts. He cocked his right hand back, his hand pointed like the tip of a spear. "Goodbye, mother," he growled, before thrusting his hand through her chest, straight through her heart. Blood gushed from the wound as she twitched until her eyes glassed over and her body fell limp. He tossed her aside after ripping out his arm from her chest. He gazed around, watching as Konoha was set ablaze before his very eyes. It was everything he wanted. He spun around, quickly blocking the kunai strike from Kurinai with null. Judging from her face, she had long believed that he was too deep into the Jinjutsu to notice. He chuckled. "Tease Kadiste Kurinia-chan. Don't you know it's rude to tease people?" he chided, before bringing his left bladed arm to bear. Kurinai quickly dived back before he could strike, dispelling the Jinjutsu. The fires had disappeared, revealing the group, added Tsunade, Suki, and Gamabunta present. Judging by their looks, they were all able to view what was going on in the Jinjutsu at the time. He looked at his sister, Suki, and nodded in her direction. Excellent use of the blood clone, Suki. He mockingly praised, clapping. Suki started. How long did I know I was under a Jinjutsu? Naruto interrupted her chain of thought. He chuckled at her dumbstruck expression as well as the others, curious to know how he had fooled Konoha's Ice Queen. After the first blow, of course. You must really pick up on your Kenjutsu, Suki. All of your blows feel hollow. As for the rest, if I was about to kill dear mother, I doubt the rest of you would have stood by and watched. He elaborated. Then why fake the illusion? Tsunade asked. All of the group felt an involuntary shudder run down their spines. The whole group had the impression that behind the masked Naruto was grinning sadistically at them. Why? To use it as a distraction to set up a trap of my own, of course. He replied, arms raised wide. The group then noticed the fleeting flames in the form of foxes, each holding a seal in the jaws, skirting across the boundaries of the clearing. The foxes, one in a box formation, faded as the seals activated, creating a large intangible box around them, well over 10 Gamabuntas in terms of height. Wouldn't want any more last-minute entries, do we? He asked, forming a Rasengan in one hand. That Rasengan soon became 10 as the other chain tail blades unfolded into bladed hands and formed their own chakra spheres. Oi, boy, don't you think this is going too far? Gamabunta asked, his voice bellowing out within the confines of the barrier. Several of those nearby winced at the volume of his voice. Stay out of this, Bunta. You should know better than anyone here. Naruto roared. The Rasengans grew and shrunk erratically as he trembled in anger. They took her away. They made me watch. They made me watch as they killed her before she could ever see her own daughter. Hikari never got to know her own mother. These bastards deserve everything I'm going to do to them. He roared, hurling the Rasengans towards them. Everyone dived out of the way, Gamabunta merely jumping to avoid the spinning orbs of death. Sure enough, wherever they touched were met with explosive force, triple that of a normal Rasengan. Luckily for them, the barrier was very liberal in the space it gave them to dodge. Katan, Gameu, Enden, Jiraiya yelled, igniting the oil spewed out by Gamabunta to raise the area Naruto was standing, effectively halting any further follow-up attacks. The grass, short and dry for weeks, proved to be great fuel to further aid the fire technique, soon turning the area ablaze, granting them a few minutes of reprieve. Tsunade, what did Naruto mean? Kushina demanded, rounding on the Sannin. Luckily for her, Kakashi intervened. Kushina, now is not the time. We have to capitalize on this while we still can. Kakashi said, drawing Jiraiya's attention on him. You figured something out, Kakashi? Jiraiya asked. Kakashi nodded. Yes, ever since I've activated my Sharingan, Naruto has avoided using only jutsus and has restricted himself to using only taijutsu, kenjutsu, and chakra manipulation. He stated. How much longer can you keep it activated? Niji asked. Kakashi ran some mental math before replying a moment later. If I'm frugal with my chakra, about another 30 minutes. He replied. before Neji could devise a game plan to capitalize on Naruto's self-induced handicap, they all noticed something startling. The flames, which had previously been growing steadily out of control, warped in on one focal point. That focal point happened to be an enormous chakra orb hovering in front of Naruto's open maw. His 9 chain tails were constantly feeding the orb chakra. The flames were consumed by it, making the orb glow like a raging inferno. Its structure was so dense that the very ground Naruto stood on cracked and gave way, dust constantly swirling around. As its form grew more compacted, the fissures in the earth grew until finally it was no bigger than a fist. Whatever they had expected Naruto to do with such massive chakra, eating it was not one of them. Why do I feel like something terrible is going to happen? Kakashi asked to no one in particular. Naruto leered at Kushina before letting out an ear-screeching roar, accompanied by fiery beam of chakra. Rea-a-wa-wa. The beam itself was blinding as it rushed towards Kushina, who could do nothing to dodge it in time. At the last moment, before the Shinigami claimed here Jiraiya Kawamari'd, and, forgive me if I spelled this wrong, with her taking her place. Everyone felt their collective hearts clench at the scene before them, every moment stretching out for what felt like minutes. None more so than Tsunade, who felt tears come unbidden to her eyes. Though instead of burning to a crisp, Jiraiya merely poofed, only to reappear from the ground behind Naruto with a ridiculously large Rasengan in hand, which he bashed into Naruto's back. Kurama Rasengan. The force was explosive in nature. The gale it kicked up made the others hard-pressed to keep their footing. Naruto hardly budged an inch. Jiraiya strained to keep its rotation fro as long as he could, but it had to give some time. When the jutsu dispelled, Naruto didn't have so much as a skid mark on his back. Naruto slowly turned around towards him, growling. Was that supposed to hurt? You shitty excuse for a godfather? Here, let me show you how it's done. He roared, bringing about his 9 chain tails to bear, each glowing with wind chakra. Fton, kaigriega no kokonotsu no kama. His 9 tails slashed at the air, sending crescent waves of wind chakra, more deadlier than the sharpest bladed edge. Jiraiya dashed away, thinking himself in the clear, until Fukasaku alerted him of his peril. You idiot! Behind you! The old toad scolded, raping Jiraiya on the head. Ow! What's the OHSHID? Jiraiya yelled, as he saw that the wind blades arc and curve, towards him and the rest of the group. Everyone sprang into action, ducking and diving the blades, although they proved to be relentless. Gamabunta was the most hard-pressed to dodge. Kushina had enough and brought her katana in an overhead slash, cleaving one in two. For a second, it looked like it worked, until the halves exploded in a hail of needles, igniting the others in a series of overlapping explosions. When everything died down, the group, even Gamabunta, lay injured on the ground. Though with a quick glance, she confirmed everyone was still breathing. Her entire body ached, her uniform tattered. She saw her katana laying on the ground, half obscured by the smoke billowing inside the barrier. Naruto was nowhere in sight, though she didn't know how long that was going to last. She frantically crawled towards her katana, hand outstretched. Just as she barely touched the hilt, a familiar black and red armored boot slammed down on her wrist. Manifeste impossible. Hello, dear mother. She hesitantly looked up at her son, who regarded her with absolute loathing before going to one knee, putting further pressure on her wrist. She winced at the pain shooting up her arm. He looked at her silently before smearing his fingers in one of her many wounds, drawing an intricate pattern of seal arrays on her forehead. For once in her life, she didn't know what to do. After giving the seal a once-over, one of his chain tails hovered near her throat. Any last words, mother? Kushina shocked at the severity and coldness of his tone. I will always love Dash. Goodbye. At the last second, where her life would have ended, where she would never see her son or daughter again, Naruto turned around to block a strike from a blonde kunoichi. "Naruto, stop this," she yelled. Whoever this kunoichi was, it seemed she was familiar with her son. "Once we're done with this thing, I'm going to smack that dough from here to IWA." Sasuke cursed. The automaton was proving to be extremely difficult to deal with. Its surface was extremely durable, and unlike Kankuro-S puppets, it was not made of hardened wood. This made the vast repertoire of fire jutsus essentially useless. Even several of the snake-based jutsus he had managed to glean from Orochimaru were useless, seeing as how most of them were meant for dealing poison-based blows to an opponent, which was pointless against the automaton. That left his taijutsu and lightning techniques. Lee and Sakura were no better off. Sakura and Lee had no ranged jutsu to speak of, all of their combat prowess based solely on close combat. Lee didn't even carry kunai and had only a limited amount of shurikens and ninja wire, with almost no exploding tags to speak of. Sakura, while better equipped than Lee, was limited in what she could carry besides medical supplies. All in all, Kugyo no Haka was the worst enemy for this makeshift team to face. Add to the fact that it didn't feel pain and used an extremely potent toxin, which was limiting the time that Sasuke could fight. The three began to feel the pressure of the fight. Lee and Sakura quickly darted around their foe, ducking and weaving through his strikes and jumping back after the occasional poisonous gas cloud. "How many exploding tags do you have left, Sakura?" Sasuke asked, wanting to know what they could work with. Sakura briefly ran through her pack. 10 exploding tags left, 5 kunai, and 15 shuriken, she replied. At that moment, the damn automaton burst from the wall, slamming Lee into a wall, before wrapping his tail around Sakura's neck and flinging her into Sasuke. The two crashed into a nearby vending stand. Sasuke tried to stand back up, but could already feel the backlash from the symptoms being repressed. His body shook as he went into a particularly violent coughing fit. He could see the blood specks on his hand already. "Damn it, not now. Just a few more minutes." He cursed silently. Lee had managed to break out of the automaton's hold and batted it away, although only temporary. Sakura noticed the blood as she cleared her head from its daze. "Sasuke, we need to get you to the hospital now," she ordered. Where Sasuke was reluctant to agree, the automaton had other ideas as it came in, fists crashing down on where they had been a split second later. "Oh man, for doing this, Naruto. Later you're gonna owe me some serious dough." The three turned their heads to see a black man, clad in Kumo A&BU gear, sighing to himself as he looked out at the puppet from a rooftop. "Joe, Mafuka, you better think again before messing with me, brother. Fuinjutsu, Okutapisu Haruto," be wrapped, spewing out globules of ink that took the form of clones of him, who proceeded to put various combined pinning holds on the automaton. It struggled briefly before the ink swallowed it, freezing it in place. "Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Don't worry, fans. No need to shout," be yelled, looking at the three with an expectant manner. He slumped his shoulders at the lack of applause. "All right, fine. Be that way. I ain't gonna whine," he said dejectedly. Kugyo no Haka warped out, unbeknownst to the group. "Who are you?" Sasuke demanded, tensing at the sight of the Kumo headband. "Sasuke, that's no way to treat such a youthful person who helped us," Lee said, much to the group's dismay. Sasuke swore if he heard youth one more time, he was gonna... "Hey, you guys know where Naruto is? I got lost when I had to take a whiz," be asked. The group face faulted at the Kumo ninja's reason. "Why are you looking for Naruto? Not much good it'd do you, what with the QB form he's in," Sasuke quipped back. At the mention of QB, B instantly grew serious and closed the distance between them in a blink. "Where is he?" he all but demanded, wraps forgotten. The group shrinked back except for Sasuke, who stood his ground. "Why? You gonna try to take him to Kumo? Huh? You gonna use him like a slave?" Sasuke challenged. B grabbed him by the shirt and lifted him in the air. "Look, punk, I'm not gonna ask again. I'm a friend, and the longer he keeps fighting, the faster his clock starts ticking," B stated. The group's eyes widened in realization. He's by the western gates. Sakura answered, pointing in the general direction. B nodded and let Sasuke down before flinging a vial Sakura's way, who caught it. That's the antidote. Use it sparingly. After that, rest, 'cause everything hurts like a motherfucker afterwards, he said before dashing off. Why are you doing this, Naruto? Yujito pleaded. Naruto batted her away with null. I'm only doing to them what they deserve, he roared, before turning back to Kushina. At that moment, B burst through the barrier, his 8 tails activated and pulled Naruto into a full Nelson. Not you too, B, he yelled in agitation. Stop, man, stop the fight, this ain't right. B tried to reason, before Naruto suplexed him and jumped away, only to be tackled to the ground by Yujito in full 2 tails form. Stop it, Naruto. What about Hikari? She pleaded. Naruto threw her off of him. Leave Hikari out of this, he roared, dodging out of the way of a now fully merged 8 tails B. He wasn't as lucky, though, as 2 other tails caught him and wrapped themselves around him. IT has everything to do with Hikari. You know that, Yujito retorted. You're killing yourself. You only have 4 years left as it is. Don't you think Hikari would be devastated knowing you're purposely hurting yourself? Shut up. No, we won't. I'm doing this for her. If not for them, she would still have a mother, he screamed vehemently. She doesn't care, though. She has you, and that's all that matters to her. For how long? For how long, Yujito? How long till she's alone? If IT weren't for them, she wouldn't be crying at night, fearing the day I die. Everyone sat in silence. Those who had not heard of Naruto's condition shocked. Kami, it hurts so much, Yujito, B. You don't know what it's like feeling helpless. You're the one that's still hurting Naruto. You've never gotten over her, have you? Yujito asked. Naruto's silence only proved her point. I can still see her sometimes, how she pleaded to see Hikari. She knew she was going to die the more I think about it. I did too, but I didn't want to believe it at the time. Kami, it hurts so bad sometimes I just wanted to end. He admitted. Yujito slowly trudged up to him, one of her tails gently touching his forehead. It's going to be okay. Now, Naruto, we're here for you. Sleep. It's going to be okay now. She cooed. Naruto slumped slightly, his armor breaking away like glass before fading away, showing his sleeping face marred by tear streaks. The 2 Jinchurikis reverted back to their human form, be carrying Naruto over his shoulder gently. The 2 walked away, Yujito searching his person for the seal key, opening a door in the field. Wait! The 2 stopped as Kushina hoisted herself up by her katana, her eyes pleading. Where are you going with my son? Home. Your son, it seems, has no wish to see you nor his former prison, though after knowing of his past, Ms. Uzumaki, I cannot fault him. Yujito replied coolly before heading through the door, soon followed by B. Kushina ran to the door as it faded. No. She screamed as she frantically searched the area the door was as it disappeared. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing into the dirt. Konohagakure, 3 days since Naruto's return. The Hokage Tower was bustling with activity as the team awaited Inoichi to bring his daughter in for a briefing on what she saw when her soul self entered Naruto. The tension was thick, especially between Kushina and Tsunade. Ever since Kushina heard from a corner Kakashi what Naruto had meant. After the mention of what he was put through and that it might have been Tsunade's fault, let's just say they were lucky Kushina didn't try to kill the Sannin then and there. Soon everyone's patience was rewarded as Ino stepped in along with her father. Their delay was understandable as several areas of Konoha were being rebuilt. They managed to play it off as a group of mercenaries launching a surprise attack against Tsunade from angry Root supporters. Luckily, no one was able to actually see Naruto arrive and literally wipe the floor with them, as they had all evacuated to the underground safety bunkers by then. So, Ino, before we get started, are you feeling any better? Tsunade asked. Kushina looked like she was going to interrogate the poor girl to get the answers out of her. Ino hugged her sides as she shivered slightly. Honestly, no. I think I'd rather go mad rather than be unaffected by those type of things. She replied. Can you tell us what you saw? Tsunade asked gently, not wanting to push their only lead too far. Ino shook her head, much to Kushina's aggravation. Bam! Everybody jumped as Kushina bashed her fist on the desk, denting it considerably. Well, except for Sasuke, who was in a wheelchair at the time due to exhaustion, who just wheeled back a little. What do you mean you can't tell us? You are the only lead we have to knowing about what happened to my son, and you're telling me you don't know. Kushina screamed. Inoichi stood in front of his daughter. Kushina, that's enough. She's still heavily traumatized from the events. Kushina only relented when Kakashi put a hand on her shoulder, his hand clenching slightly silently, telling her that he was anxious as well, but to be patient. She huffed, but sat back down. Is there any way you can share the events, Ino? If not verbally, Tsunade asked. Ino pondered a bit before nodding her head. I could share the events through a group mental link, if that would be okay, she asked. Everyone nodded their consent. Ino came forward and started drawing a temporary relay seal on Tsunade's desk. Everyone, put your hand on each orbiting kanji word for link, then I'll be able to share the events. It's a progression that lasts about 3 minutes real time, but it may seem longer. Once it starts, you can't break away, no matter what you see, okay? Everyone nodded and placed their hands on the relay points. AMBU guards secured a perimeter around the office. Ino reluctantly only set her hand on the middle of the seal.